search. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. And of course, welcome back to another very exciting episode of Red Pill News Live. We got so much going on. As I was literally waiting through the introduction, I lost a monitor. So, like, that monitor is where I have OBS. And so I couldn't access OBS, and I was freaking out, running behind my desk and trying to unplug and replug, and nothing's working. So I think I may just be shit out of luck. Oh, man, that sucks. Anyways, I'll worry about it afterwards. I got OBS down here, though, so now I can go ahead and control it. And let me just say to all of you in the audience, thank you for being here. And a cautionary message: do not fall prey to fake news narratives. I will explain that at the end of the introduction. But I see it happening. I see it happening all the time. I care about you, and I don't want you to be a victim of the fake news. So yes, if there's something you're wondering about, Red Pill News is probably already on the case. We're going to be debunking fake news narratives as soon as we begin. And we've got new information about the Brown University shooter. Things are not looking good for the people at that institution. But most of all, things are not looking good for Fani Willis down in Georgia. Fani Willis quite literally spun out in real time during her live broadcast of her testimony before the Georgia Senate Commission. So do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that thumbs up, sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn, and let's get ready to rock. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being here. Sincerely appreciate you. Let me do some refreshing on my screen to make sure that all of my feeds are working properly. It does appear they are. All right. So I'm not going to bury the lead. We're going to get right into it. I saw it in the chat. People were saying Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI. Dan Bongino has left the FBI. What is Dan going to do now? Dan's going to go back to podcasting. Dan might run the Secret Service. Well, I am here today to tell you that Dan Bongino is not going anywhere. Now, this was broadcast all over X in the minutes before I began to go live here today. And all it said was that there were multiple credible sources who have said that Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI. They expected Dan Bongino to announce his leaving the FBI on December 19th, and then in the new year, he would go back to his program. Well, isn't it a wonderful thing? You can go ahead and check these things. The first thing I did when I saw people suggesting that Dan Bongino was going to leave the FBI, and let's be very clear, this is a wet dream for the deep state, the idea that Dan is going to walk away from the FBI. They've been saying it since the very beginning. There's always somebody out there who's suggesting that Dan is leaving. I am here to tell you from informed sources that Dan is not going anywhere. And go to his Twitter. Go to his personal Twitter, go to his FBI Twitter, nothing. However, Dan has been posting as recently as last night. Dan was out there sharing the wonderful work that they're doing at the Federal Bureau of Investigation under the leadership of he and Director Kash Patel. So, isn't it a good thing that the speed of the internet is what it is? It turns out that this announcement began with MS Now. That's right. It is the deep state's favorite mouthpiece. They're the ones who were telling the world that Dan Bongino was no longer going to be deputy director of the FBI. They reported that earlier today. They said that Dan has quietly been telling his colleagues that not only is he leaving next year, but that he's not going to be returning to work at FBI headquarters, and that he allegedly told his team that he tentatively planned to announce his departure from office on December 19th. Anonymous sources, people they just made up, reached out to MS Now and said that some of Bongino's personal items have already been removed from his office. He is making his departure as quick as possible. Now, when MS Now reached out to Dan Bongino for comment, he didn't explicitly deny the comment, but he did have some choice words. This is what Dan Bongino said. Print whatever you like. No one believes you anyways. Thanks. That certainly does not seem to me like Dan Bongino is planning to leave the FBI. So I fully anticipate Dan is going to continue to do this work. I think he's going to stick around. There may have been problems that he's had since he's been there. But overall, Dan is in a position to effectuate real change inside an organization that for many years has been replete with rot. It has been stem to stern, fully just putrid and nasty and stankin'. And now that Dan and Cash are there, they can go ahead and change that. Now, it's not an easy task. It's not going to happen overnight. And I would imagine there are still a lot of people they got to get rid of, especially after these new revelations we spoke about for a long time yesterday. It would make a lot of sense for Dan to, instead of leaving the FBI, comb through the ranks of the FBI and figure out who it was that was perfectly fine going into President Trump's personal residence with no predicate to enter and search his home. That would be the thing that I would personally want to do. And I just can't imagine that Dan Bongino is going to be doing anything else. So as it stands right now, there is no announcement that Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI. He has not confirmed that he would. And I have to be honest with you, in the same way that yesterday I said I wouldn't talk to Vanity Fair. You know, I mean, God bless Susie Wiles. She can do whatever she wants. Like I said yesterday, she's like the second most powerful person in Washington, D.C. However, after speaking to Vanity Fair and having her words twisted in the way that they were, I think she's probably going to think twice about speaking to non-friendly outlets like Vanity Fair. Dan is already keenly aware of what MS Now or MSDNC is going to do if they can get a comment out of him. They're going to go ahead and twist it in the way that they want to. And as Dan said, nobody is going to believe you anyways. So my cautionary warning to you is do not fall prey to the fake news narratives. Now, I would like to briefly jump to the situation in Maine. This is a video that was recently recorded at a Maine City Council meeting, and an immigrant from Africa, I'm assuming he's a legal resident or a citizen of the United States of America, but I don't know, because there's a lot of illegals in Maine, just as there are a lot of illegals in plenty of other states like Minnesota. This kind of goes hand in hand with stuff we're going to talk about later in the show. But POTUS just confirmed Dan is resigning. You're shitting me. Hang on just a second. Let's go to real Donald Trump. Raphael Warnock. No, he's not talking about Dan Bongino there. Hold on. No, POTUS. There's nothing from POTUS. There is nothing from POTUS on his Truth Social. 16 hours ago, he posted about Brown University security cameras. 1 hour ago, he posted about Raphael Warnock, and I'll just read you this before we get into this video from this African gentleman from Maine. Let me go ahead and pull this up. If you've got a clip or a actual quote from President Trump, then I will happily revoke everything that I just said. But Raphael Warnock was on Meet the Press with a one-sided and very biased Kirsten Welker as the hostess. Warnock spent the entire show using religion to try and divide the country. If a Republican, in particular me, made those statements, it would be front page news. He ended by saying that he was going to his church to preach now. And while I think that's fine, I do say, whatever happened to separation of church and state? That would be the first thing that they would use against us. But actually, it's something that never much bothered me. Anyway, Warnock is a lightweight whose wife correctly states that he tried to run her over with a car. Fortunately, she was able to get out of the way and almost only lost her foot. Warnock is a bad guy, and NBC News, which is second only to ABC fake news for being the worst, should be ashamed of themselves and allowing garbage interviews with untalented and uncaring people to take place. The public airwaves, which these networks are using at no charge, should not be allowed to get away with this any longer. They should be properly licensed and pay significant amounts of money for using this valuable public space. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So anyways, I don't have, you saw the video of Trump confirming Dan is out. Okay, so I haven't seen this anywhere, haven't seen a confirmation from Dan, and Dan would be the person that I would assume is going to confirm that he is leaving the FBI. And when I searched Dan Bongino leaving the FBI, there was nothing but people speculating. So let's look for Trump Bongino. Oh, he says,
Great job.
hang on.
Dan did a great job. I think he wants to go back to his show. Yeah, I do.
He said, I think he wants to go back to his show. But he also didn't confirm that Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI. So anyways, this is closer to a Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI, but we still do not have an official announcement. Either way, I'm not taking the word of MS now, and I'll wait for Dan Bongino to say that he's leaving the FBI. Now, here's the thing. President Trump may be hearing something through the grapevine as well, but still, we do not have 100% confirmation that that Dan is leaving the FBI. So we'll wait and see. Don and Cookie's Kid is now a monthly supporter. Thank you very much for your support of the program. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Captain Phillips is the movie with the Somalian where he famously says, I'm the captain now. This is a moment ripped straight from Captain Phillips where this African immigrant comes before the Lewiston City Council and tells them that he is the mayor now.
Hello, everyone. So I'm from Africa, but I'm one of you guys.
I'm sorry, sir. Where do you live?
I said I'm from Africa.
I understand. Where do you live?
I'm one of you guys. I live in Lewiston.
Okay, please continue, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I sent you today because where I come from, we live neighborhood to neighborhood. But when I see my city, Lewiston, which means I'm a mayor, not you. I'm a mayor now.
I'm the captain now.
Some of my people suffering right there. They don't have no water. They don't have one place to stay. They don't have nothing.
All right. I'm the mayor now. I'm the mayor now. Could not believe it when I heard this dude say that. Okay. We also now have a trailer for a documentary that's going to be coming out January 30th. It is a film entirely about Melania and her experience during President Trump's reelection, his inauguration, and the first part of President Trump's second term in office. Take a look at this.
Here we go again.
You can come in. Good morning. After our legacy will be that of peacemaker.
Peacemaker and Defiant. Beautiful. Together with like-minded leaders, we have a voice. Is it safe?
It is safe.
Everyone wants to know. So here it is. Hi, Mr. President. Congratulations.
Did you watch it?
I did not. Yeah, I will see it on the news.
I think that's going to be awesome. That is going to be a rare inside look into the thoughts, the world of Melania Trump. Certainly, everything that she's had to deal with, I think they're probably going to get into the anxiety of President Trump almost being assassinated on multiple occasions. I think that is going to be an excellent, excellent show. Now, take a look at this. President Trump at the White House Wall of Heroes. Is that what he called it? The Walk of Fame. Underneath the presidents, he has installed plaques which give a little bit more insight into the terms of these presidents. So you've got portraits of every single president, all 47. And President Trump, as you know, had replaced the picture of Joe Biden with a picture of the auto pen. And this morning, when reporters appeared at the White House, they noticed that there were these newly placed plaques that were underneath each of these photographs. Now, Biden and Obama, obviously the predecessors of President Trump, in these plaques are completely obliterated. Joe Biden is named Sleepy Joe Biden and by far the worst president in American history. And Barack Hussein Obama, his middle name being Hussein, that name is highlighted on the plaque. Obama is also referred to as one of the most divisive political figures in American history. Let's go ahead and take a look at these plaques directly so that you guys can see everything that it says. So under Biden, Sleepy Joe Biden was by far the worst president in American history, taking office as a result of the most corrupt election ever seen in the United States. Biden oversaw the unprecedented disasters that brought our nation to the brink of destruction. His policies caused the highest inflation ever recorded, leading the U.S. dollar to lose more than 20% of its value in 4 years. His Green New Scam surrendered American energy dominance, and by abolishing the southern border, Biden let 21 million people from all over the world pour into the United States, including from prisons, jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. His Afghanistan disaster was among the most humiliating events in American history and resulted in the murder of 13 brave American service members, with many others gravely wounded. Seeing Biden's devastating weakness, Russia invaded Ukraine, and Hamas terrorists launched the heinous October 7th attack on Israel. It continues. It gets even worse. Nicknamed both Sleepy and Crooked, Joe Biden was dominated by his radical left handlers. They and their allies in the fake news media attempted to cover up his severe mental decline and his unprecedented use of the autopen, following his humiliating debate loss to President Trump in the big June 2024 debate. He was forced to withdraw from his campaign for re-election in disgrace. Biden weaponized law enforcement against his political opponent while also persecuting many other innocent people. He left office issuing blanket pardons to radical Democrat criminals and thugs, as well as members of the Biden crime family. But despite it all, President Trump would get reelected in a landslide and save America. Take a look at this. I cannot believe the president is so awesome. Totally awesome. Look at that. It took up 2 plaques. Now, Barack Hussein Obama's plaque also reads, was the first black president, a community organizer, one-term senator from Illinois, and one of the most divisive political figures in American history. In its entirety, Barack Hussein Obama, as president, he passed the highly ineffective Unaffordable Care Act, resulting in his party losing control of both houses of Congress and the election of the largest House Republican majority since 1946. He presided over a stagnant economy, approved the terrible Iran nuclear deal, and signed the one-sided Paris Climate Accords, both of which were later terminated by President Donald J. Trump. Under Obama, the ISIS caliphate spread across the Middle East. Libya collapsed into chaos, and Russia invaded and took Crimea in Ukraine. He crippled small businesses with crushing regulation and environmental red tape, devastated American coal miners, and weaponized the IRS and federal bureaucracies against his political opponents. Was this written by a German or something like that? Every U has an umlaut above it. Obama also spied on the 2016 presidential campaign of Donald J. Trump and presided over the creation of the Russia hoax, the worst political scandal in American history. His hand-picked successor, Hillary Rodham Clinton, would then lose the presidency to Donald J. Trump. Once again, 2 plaques full of just... hilarious stuff. All right, now we need to actually take a look at President Trump's plaque as well, because of course, you know, he got one. So there, oh no, I'm sorry. Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton served as Attorney General and Governor of Arkansas before winning the presidency in what was called a major upset over President George H.W. Bush. As president, Clinton signed crime and welfare legislation, which was passed with the leadership of Republicans in Congress. He approved NAFTA, which President Donald J. Trump would later terminate as being bad for the United States. He welcomed China into the World Trade Organization and oversaw NATO's military intervention in Bosnia and Kosovo. Despite the scandals that plagued his presidency, the tech boom of the late 90s resulted in excellent economic growth, which helped him and Republicans in Congress deliver balanced budgets for the first time in decades. In 2016, President Clinton's wife, Hillary, lost to President Donald J. Trump. Oh, God. Here is Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan won the Cold War and transformed American politics and the conservative movement. Before entering the White House, Reagan was a Hollywood actor, president of the Screen Actors Guild, governor of California, and for decades, a leading voice in American conservatism. As president, he enacted tax cuts, presided over a thriving economy, and rebuilt the American military. He survived being shot by an assassin and confronted the Soviet Union with striking moral clarity, labeling it an evil empire and putting unprecedented pressure on the communist menace. Known as the Great Communicator, he was reelected in a landslide in 1984 and left office with high approval, having restored national confidence, spirit, and will. He was a fan of President Donald J. Trump long before President Trump's historic run for the White House. Likewise, President Trump was a fan of this. I wonder how many times President Trump is going to be mentioned, if he's going to be mentioned on each and every one of these plaques. It's so funny. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I want to see President Trump's plaque. I want to see what they say about him. Hold on. Let's see. Wall of Heroes Trump plaque. Let's see. Okay. No, oh yeah, here we go. Oh, someone made a fake one. That's funny. Yeah. This is from 29 minutes ago. would have been good if President Trump went through each and every one of the presidents and would say, like, you know, would be a big fan of President Trump. All right. Filter Dog says King Solomon says Dan Bongino is leaving the FBI. Let's take a look. No. Okay. Yes, he is saying this. And look at this. It was only posted 10 minutes ago, guys. So you can't blame me for going with what was current at the time that we started the show. And again, this is another step closer. I certainly trust John Solomon a lot more than I trust MSNBC.
Before we go, if you don't mind, you're very close to Kash Patel. You have great access. Dan Bongino, good friend of mine. I keep reading these articles that he's finished. He may be leaving. Yeah. I texted him last night.
I think he'll leave in January officially. I think he's probably on holiday soon. But I think he'll leave in January. I think that's the current plan. By the way, that's been the plan for some time, since the summer. He wanted to get the January 6th pipe bomb investigation done and some other things. He wanted to get the ship righted. But, you know, he had a burgeoning radio empire that had to be put on hold, and that's never a good thing for your business. So I think he did the job that Kash Patel and the president asked him to do. Get the organization uprighted, get rid of the bad eggs, at least some of the bad eggs or many of the bad eggs, solve some of these lingering issues like the January 6th case, and then go back to your job if you want to. And I think history will look back and say it was short, but we got a lot done in that time frame. Meanwhile, Kash Patel continues to roll out really significant...
Before we go.
All right. Well, that, again, is one step closer to firm confirmation. We will wait to hear it from Dan Bongino himself, but yet looking more likely. All right. Now, also good news coming out of the D.C. District Court of Appeals. They have once again sided with President Trump, and the National Guard will be allowed to stay in Washington, D.C. This is yet again another major loss for the political justices who are attempting to stand in the way of President Trump and his agenda. Now, upon consideration of the emergency motion for administrative stay and for stay pending appeal, in response thereto and the reply, the amicus brief of a bunch of different states, it is so ordered that the motions to participate has been granted. Further ordered, the court and the stay has been entered. Further ordered, the motion to stay pending appeal has been granted. And there we go. It is now grant the motion for a stay pending appeal, and the remaining stay factors favor the defendants. The defendants are, of course, President Trump, and President Trump and the National Guard will remain in Washington, D.C. All right. Now, also, sadly, we must mention once more the two servicemen who were unfortunately killed in Syria over the weekend. Their remains were flown into Dover Air Force Base earlier today, and President Trump was there to welcome them home. Once again, their names are... I have to pull this up. Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard, he was 29, of Marshalltown, Ohio, and Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar, 25, of Des Moines, Iowa. First of all, here is President Trump exiting Air Force One. And I'm going to need to refresh. President Trump was quoted as saying, "This is the hardest part of the job." Of course, while he was there, President Trump was characteristically stoic and reverential to the memories of these young men who lost their lives far too soon. Unlike Joe Biden, who was looking at his watch, couldn't get out of there quick enough. You can see that he's joined by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, many others in the military, in the Pentagon. We still don't have a good answer as to what actually happened during this ambush, why it is that these young men are dead and the others are injured. Very sad. Very, very sad. Now, considering that we don't have any answers, we don't know what happened, a lot of people are wondering, how is the United States going to respond? Caroline Leavitt appeared on Fox News earlier today to comment on this very issue.
They'll be hit hard. He is vowing very serious retaliation as a response. What can you tell us we could be seeing from the president as far as action?
Well, I won't get ahead of the president and our commander-in-chief on any actions that he may take with respect to ISIS in the Middle East in this second term. We know in President Trump's first term, he completely destroyed and demolished the ISIS caliphate. He took out some of their key top members and leaders. And because of President Trump's policies in Syria and beyond, the Middle East is growing to be a safer place every day. If you look at how President Trump has embraced the Syrian president, removed sanctions from that country, and what happened, this absolute tragedy that took place of our soldiers who were killed, that was largely because of the dereliction of duty from the last administration, and it reinforces President Trump's policy in this country now, embracing a leader who he as well is committed to eradicating ISIS. He signed onto a document right here at the White House at the behest of President Trump to join the United States in fighting ISIS in his country. So that mission will continue, and tomorrow, unfortunately and very sadly, President Trump will be heading to Dover Air Force Base to meet with the...
So I'm glad to see that the administration is not taking the bait, and because there were a lot of people who were suggesting that it was actually the Syrian security forces themselves that committed this ambush, which, of course, would put us into a position where, once again, we are directly fighting this now fledgling government in Syria. There's plenty of people out there who want that to happen. And yes, 10 minutes ago, Dan Bongino himself did confirm on his official FBI account, "I will be leaving my position with the FBI in January. I want to thank President Trump, AG Bondi, and Director Patel for the opportunity to serve with purpose. Most importantly, I want to thank you, my fellow Americans, for the privilege to serve you. God bless America and all those who defended her." Now, I see people wondering in the chat, what is Dan going to be able to talk about? I would imagine that anything that could be looked upon perhaps unfavorably in regards to the administration, Dan is never going to talk about. A lot of people speculating on this issue that Dan may have had with Pam Bondi, the way that she handled the Epstein debacle. I mean, as Susie Wiles allegedly said in that Vanity Fair article, Pam Bondi completely whiffed it on the Epstein files issue. This is something that was certainly close to the heart of Dan Bongino. And we all remember that interview that he and Cash gave where, trust me, bro, there's no there. I know that nobody believes that to be true, but considering Dan Bongino's position at the FBI, he obviously could not say much of anything other than what he quite literally had been told to say. So there is likely going to be some things that he will discuss. Certainly any open cases he won't. The cases that he was directly involved in and that perhaps are quickly going to be brought to a conclusion, those will likely be discussed. Certainly the pipe bomber case is ongoing. The trial has not happened yet, so I wouldn't imagine he's going to say very much about that. I think that it's probably just going to be a lot of, what we see here in this tweet. Dan talking about, having the privilege and the honor to serve at the pleasure of the president. But, obviously it looks like he does want to get back to his own life. And I can't say I blame him. Not going to bash him for leaving. And I think that, anytime people do that, that's not helping anybody. All right. So good news as well. The House GOP earlier today passed the health care bill that they've been trying to get through. This is going to be that health care bill that President Trump was championing, where instead of giving money directly to insurance companies, the American people will receive that money in a health care savings account so that we can go ahead and use it to get health care however we want. There also is some provisions in here which will allow Americans to band together to get group rates and then necessarily cheaper insurance, pay less in premiums, and get savings without being taken to the cleaners by these healthcare systems and the insurance companies in the way that they were before. Now, I told you guys this previously, but, I have my healthcare tripled just from last month to this month. So I'm not going to be having insurance going forward. And I'm really excited that, if there is an opportunity for us to have access to money, which would allow us to receive quality healthcare in the way that we want, meaning that we don't have to submit to healthcare systems, sending us to doctors that we don't want to see, or having unnecessary medical treatments pressed on us. I luckily haven't had to deal with any of that. The doctors that I have, it's a small family care practice. And they're really cool. Everybody there knows what's up. Like I said, when he suggested that I start taking statins, I told him I'm not going to take statins, and I told him my reasoning, and he was like, well, I can't argue with you. You do whatever you want. It's totally cool with me. And he said, but there are some doctors out there who would tell you that you can't be a patient with them anymore. And that's just really too bad. Hopefully, this is going to take the sting out of the healthcare industrial complex. And rather than the American people suffering at the whim of that industrial complex, instead, we will allow free market forces to push the direction of this country. And considering how great the Make America Healthy Again movement has become, how access to certain types of medical treatments are now gaining not only popularity, but also acceptance among the medical community. That is a wonderful thing. We also have an announcement here from Dr. Marty Makary, who is the commissioner at the FDA. Another wonderful thing that they've done, which has never been done in the past before, is they've just announced that when the FDA rejects a medication, they are now going to publish the results of that rejection. What's happened in the past is companies have developed medications, they've been rejected, and then the companies have ended up lying about it, and they milk as much money as they can out of their shareholders or out of other people. Now, these rejection letters will be automatically published, and people will have an understanding. Like, say, remdesivir. If remdesivir had not been accepted as it was, they would go ahead and publish the results saying, well, it shuts down all of your organs, and that's why we're not going to go ahead and allow this drug to go on the market. We can now learn that as the American public.
We took a big step this year in the spirit of transparency to make all FDA rejection letters public information, because if we don't accept a drug, the public deserves to know why. It also reduces corporate spin to investors of a company when they're told that, hey, the FDA wanted one little tweak. Well, that may not be the case. We took a big step.
All right. So once again, healthcare system in the United States is changing, and that is because of RFK Jr. and the Make America Healthy Again agenda. Now, the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act bill, which includes $900 billion in defense spending, has now just passed. And the senators who have just passed this are demanding the access to the Venezuelan drug boat strike videos they don't just want to see them. They want them declassified and released to the American public. And as we reported last week, if they don't get what they want, they are going to allegedly withhold the budget for travel from Pete Hegseth. Now, the one good thing that I saw from this is that it looked like there was a reduction in the amount of money that was going to end up going to Ukraine. Now, I'm still waiting for the actual text of the bill to see if there is a possibility to verify that, but I can't at this time. So I just saw people talking about it, so I'm not going to report it as if it's fact. But the final vote on the floor was 20 to 77, and the bill will send nearly $1 billion to Ukraine. That was the text in its original form. It was $800 million when we first learned about it. The figure that I had heard was actually passed was $400 million. So we'll wait until we get the actual text of the bill to see if that is true. Now, allegedly, they are still going to be funding some DEI and transgender policies. And House Republicans, I guess, are looking to cut that out of the next version of the bill that's going to go through. The Pentagon and their choice whether or not to release this video of these Venezuelan drug strikes on these boats. Don't know if that's going to happen. Pete Hegseth may not care about his travel budget. But again, we'll have to go ahead and see that. Some other things that is being reported as factual is that the pay for troops is going to be increasing by 3.8%. There is also a, what was the other aspect of it? Hang on, let me go back here. No. Okay, I guess I don't have it. There was something else that was in there, and I'm trying to remember what it is. All right. Yeah. Anyways, we'll wait until we have the full text of the bill and we can go ahead and look at it. Thank you very much to Cyrus the Great, who says, do you think Nate Cain may be interested in deputy director for the FBI? You know, Nate is currently a contractor. And I know that he has a contract. So would he be interested in actually working for the FBI again and being deputy director? I mean, I think that would be awesome. I'll go ahead and reach out to him, and I'll see if that's a possibility, if he would even consider applying for that. But something tells me that they're probably going to move somebody up. They already have somebody in mind. If Dan, as was stated by King Solomon, that the plan was for Dan to step down at this time from, early on, then likely they would have already had a successor in mind, and they probably would have been prepping them to bring that person in so that they could just continue to do the relevant work and get on with it. Now, yesterday, President Trump posted on Truth Social that Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America. It will only get bigger. And the shock to them will be like nothing they have ever seen before. Until such time as they return the United States of America all of the oil, land, and other assets that they previously stole from us. Now, what is he talking about there? Because this is Venezuelan, this is Venezuelan land. This is the Venezuelan country. What he's referring to is the oil company property, the land that the refineries sat on, that was nationalized by Hugo Chavez many years ago. Because we used to have American companies down there drilling oil, refining oil, and then that oil, of course, would be sold all around the world. And when it was nationalized, they just kicked Americans out, and it then became the property of the Venezuelan nation. So President Trump is saying we want all of that stuff back. That is an interesting way to go about it. I mean, we're already blockading all of their oil. The only way that the nation of Venezuela was surviving previously was by selling that embargoed oil. In the way that they were, we just saw that firsthand when they had an oil tanker and they were flying the flag of Guyana on it. And then that tanker would go out, they would sell the oil, they would come back, and then they would do the same thing again. So it looks like they were, I saw a figure earlier that they were bringing in something like between $400 and $800 million a month selling oil like that. If Venezuela is no longer able to sell oil in a clandestine fashion, that's going to put them into a very difficult financial position very quickly. And whatever is happening in Venezuela is likely going to come to a pretty swift conclusion. So he says the illegitimate Maduro regime is using oil from these stolen oil fields to finance themselves, drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping for the theft of our assets and many other reasons, including terrorism, drug smuggling, and human trafficking. The Venezuelan regime has been designated a foreign terrorist organization. Therefore, today I am ordering a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. The illegal aliens and criminals that the Maduro regime has sent into the United States during the weak and inept Biden administration are being returned to Venezuela at a rapid pace because, of course, they are accepting them. Americans will not allow criminals, terrorists, and other countries to rob, threaten, or harm our nation, and likewise will not allow a hostile regime to take our oil, land, or any other assets, all of which must be returned to the United States immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, Stephen Miller writes, American sweat, ingenuity, and toil created the oil industry in Venezuela. It is not. That's correct. Its tyrannical expropriation was the largest recorded theft of American wealth and property. These pillaged assets were then used to fund terrorism and flood our streets with killers, mercenaries, and drugs. So, as I said, with no ability for Venezuela to sell this sanctioned oil in any capacity, they are probably going to go completely bankrupt very, very quickly. And whatever President Trump is looking to get out of this situation, I don't think it's going to take very long to reach it. Now, Senator John Fetterman once again is backing President Trump on his decision to take out these drug boats. Now, of course, John Fetterman is from Pennsylvania, where, of course, Kensington resides. I've shown videos of Kensington on the show on a number of occasions. This is one of the worst open-air drug markets in the United States of America, where people walk around like zombies, oftentimes not even walking, just completely passed out, either on the ground, in a wheelchair, arms and legs literally rotting off of their bodies, women being assaulted, people being robbed, people being killed. So John Fetterman appeared with Chris Cuomo, and he said that the seizing of these Venezuelan oil tankers makes a lot of sense, particularly because the people who are buying this oil are global competitors, people like Iran, China, and Russia. Not only is it going to put Venezuela in a disadvantaged situation financially, but it's also going to cause problems for those nations as well. The idea that John Fetterman is once again supporting President Trump is likely not going to sit too well with the people in the Democrat caucus, one of the worst things that they could have done. And he continues to surprise, I think, everybody with his level-handed attitude towards many of the things the administration does. Sure, he doesn't like a lot of what President Trump does, but the stuff that's objectively good for the nation, John Fetterman seems to be right in line with it. So you got to respect that. Now, I would also like to suggest that just because these people are in positions of power doesn't mean that they know how to lead. It doesn't mean that they have any sort of special skill, acumen, or intelligence. And you really see that in this interaction between a female Democrat senator and the chair of the FCC, Brendan Carr. So take a listen to this 1-minute interaction.
Will you commit to opening an investigation into Fox News for its deceptive editing of this clip? Again, yes or no, please, because I have questions for the other witnesses.
No.
No. So, you're...
First of all, she does not know how to respond to this.
You're an elected bureaucrat. You're deciding...
And second of all, Brendan Carr is not an elected bureaucrat. He may be a bureaucrat, but he's not elected. He's appointed by the President of the United States. Nobody elected Brendan Carr, and likely nobody elected her either.
That some investigations should go on and others shouldn't. And are you basing this solely on the target, or are you basing this, what are you basing this on?
She is so fundamentally misinformed about the form, function, and action of government, not only here in the Senate, but also directly at the FCC, because what she's asking for is completely outside of the boundaries of the functions of the Federal Communications Commission.
Can you answer that question? This was clearly edited. Why is one edit fine and one edit not in the middle of a presidential campaign?
Senator, it's based on the law. The Fox News interview was on cable. There's no public interest standard. There's no broadcast hoax rule. There's no news distortion. There's no role for the FCC there.
There is no oversight or control over Fox News for the FCC. Okay. You have cable channels, and then you have like the traditional broadcast channels. Those traditional broadcast channels are operating on publicly provided frequencies, airwaves that are essentially leased by the federal government of the United States. And that's because those airwaves go into the home of every single person, regardless of whether or not they have cable. Fox News is fundamentally different because people are actually paying for access to Fox News. Now, things may be a little bit different now with digital television. It allows for some of those channels to just be automatically broadcast onto people's televisions, but the law has not been updated to reflect anything along those lines. So what this senator is asking Brendan Carr to do is, again, outside of the jurisdiction of his agency.
Well,
and yes, she is retarded.
I think there is a rule for fairness, and the American public understand what's fair and just. And
do you think there's a broad fairness rule that we should apply at the FCC to cable companies?
I'm going to go on to merger threats, and Chairman Carr, is there? Will you?
You think there's a broad fairness rule that we should apply to cable companies at the FCC? There isn't. If there was going to be, that would be a job for Congress. My goodness. See, that's how it's supposed to work. But thank God there isn't. Thank God there aren't more laws, rules, restrictions, regulations that have been put into place. Certainly the FCC can't do it because the FCC no longer has the power to make up these rules out of whole cloth because of Chevron deference. Thank the good Lord that the Supreme Court had the presence of mind to get rid of that. But it doesn't exist. And so that's why Brendan Carr said no. Maybe she will have a little bit better education before the next set down for questions. But something tells me she won't. All right. Now, we now have a identity that's been given of the fifth individual in the Turtle Island Liberation Front Antifa terror attack that was thwarted by the FBI. That individual was, again, out of New Orleans. We also now have confirmation that at least 2 of these 5 Antifa radicals are actually trans-Tifa radicals. That's right. Surprise, surprise. At least 2 of them are transgender. Now, as we said yesterday, the FBI has reported that these 5 individuals were a splinter group of the Turtle Island Liberation Front. They are pro-Palestinian, anti-law enforcement, anti-government, and they were in a signal group that called itself the Order of the Black Lotus. Very cloak and dagger. Again, their names of the first 4 were Audrey, Eileen, Carol, Dante Garfield, Zachary Aaron Page, Tina Lai, and there were also 5 businesses that were targeted along with them as well. Now, the individual right here, this guy with the, gosh, that kind of looks like a Silence of the Lambs moth tattooed on his neck. That can't be good. He's got to be a creep. So Andy No was able to report that the name of the 5th suspect is Micah James Legnan. Micah James Legnan is on federal hold in Lafayette, Louisiana. He, too, is a trans-Tifa activist. He identifies as a female, even though you can tell he's not. And his social media is filled with posts calling for the murder of people that he labels as fascists. It also looks like he used to be in the military. Again, this offshoot of the Turtle Island Liberation Front are a far-left communist decolonization terror group. They were hoping to blow up ICE agents and a series of random locations with homemade bombs. And thank God they were caught before anything could happen. But hopefully more people get busted as a result of this. Now, I'd like to take you to Rhode Island. Remember the other day, one of the first things I said about Rhode Island was that it is riddled with criminality and organized criminal influence. Well, it turns out that the police chief of Providence, Chief Colonel Oscar Perez, his nephew is a drug trafficker. Jazdrul Josh Perez. He was sentenced to 22 and a half years in federal prison for running one of the largest fentanyl rings in the entire Northeast region. You see, Josh was personally responsible for flooding Rhode Island and other states in the Northeast with millions upon millions of deadly fentanyl pills. Certainly, Chief Colonel Oscar Perez's nephew was directly responsible for the deaths of untold numbers of New Englanders. Feds called his uncle, Sergeant Andre Perez, a knowing or unwitting participant, which means that local law enforcement was, in fact, directly involved with this fentanyl smuggling ring that infected the area in New England where they resided. The only thing about it is, even though the feds were able to determine that Uncle Sergeant Andre Perez himself was involved in one capacity or another, there was no local police department investigation that ever occurred. As far as I can tell, nothing ever happened to him at all. There was no public reprimand. There was no additional training. There was certainly no firing. So then, of course, the question becomes, and well, I mean, we already have the answer because I said the other day, the reason that criminal corruption is so endemic in Rhode Island and many other places in the Northeast is because the mafia became the government. So this massive operation, drugs and fentanyl being shipped in to this region, was allowed to thrive directly under the nose of the very family that was in command of law enforcement because they were profiting from it. My goodness, that should surprise absolutely no one. The nephew of the police chief was a drug kingpin, and the fentanyl that he was bringing in to Rhode Island and other places were quite literally killing the community. You can see here, drug kingpin, police chief's nephew, sentenced to 22 years in prison. And look at that. Here's the other one, standing with the police chief. This is the uncle, the sergeant, who was directly aware of the drug smuggling ring. And then here is Jazdrul, or Josh, as he is colloquially known. Now, of course, in prison, he's known as Baby Girl. Baby Girl Perez. All right, now, sticking with Rhode Island, the man on screen here is Rodney Chapman. Rodney Chapman works in public safety at Brown University. In fact, he is in charge of public safety at Brown University. He was hired back in 2021. And one of his primary goals when he was hired was to address bias in policing. He is also a very public supporter of Black Lives Matter and diversity, equity, and inclusion. However, he is not very popular with law enforcement in the area. 2 unions unanimously issued no confidence votes only earlier this year against Chapman because there is a lack of campus safety. And apparently he has created a toxic workplace, as the proponents of DEI so often do. So that may have something to do with the fact that Brown University had publicly published their camera plan prior to the shooting of young Ella that took place over the weekend, Ella and her friend that she was walking with. So you can see here, this is the public display of everywhere there's a camera, and every single camera has a concentric circle around it, letting you know exactly how far they can reasonably see. Now, in some places, you've got one camera. In other places, you've got multiple cameras giving you overlap. But right here in this big red, I don't even know what this is. We'll say rectangle. Right here, this area is completely untouched from cameras. So Let's say if somebody was planning to shoot a young Republican ingenue, a young girl who had a bright future ahead of her as a rare conservative at Brown University, then they would know exactly what route to take to ensure that they didn't show up on camera. Now, Phil Holloway says that a friend of his who's in the security biz, and I don't even need a friend in the security biz to tell you this, but this is a cardinal sin, because not only was it possible for the killer of this young girl to stealth away into the night and make sure that he wasn't caught on camera in too many different places, anybody who wants to commit a crime either at Brown University or anywhere else in the area just needs to take a look at this map and say, well, gosh, I know exactly what route we're going to take. We're going to make sure that we take the route where there is as few cameras as possible. So, yes, Mr. Chapman, you could say, is indirectly responsible for the death of this young girl. Even worse, it does, in fact, appear to have been a targeted assassination, because you see, Ella, not only was she the first person who was shot, she was shot in the face, and then she was shot, well, point blank, she was shot in the face. So more than likely, the first bullet killed her. But then whoever the gunman was shot her 7 or 8 more times. And the only reason that Mohammed Aziz Umerzakov was shot as well is because he was walking in the same path as her. He was just walking along with her, and it looks like perhaps a stray bullet is the reason that he was killed. Let's take a listen to Caroline Wren speaking with people who were witnesses.
There are reports. There are reports that say that Ella was shot point blank in the face and then shot as many as 7 more times. And then according to another witness, the other individual that died, Muck, that he was walking along the same path as her. And to me, these all lead to, that this looks like it was an assassination of Ella. And if so, was it because that she is a young Christian conservative, the vice chair of the College Republicans? Like, this seems very, very, very relevant. And why can't there are eyewitnesses to these accounts. Why can't they just come out and say these things? There are reports.
Because again, the narrative that they are quickly discovering is in complete opposition to what they would like to report. Now, even worse, once again, why is it that every time there is a multi-million-dollar safety system that's installed to warn people about something terrible happening, it never seems to work on the day of, whether it's for a hurricane or a fire or perhaps an assassination like this? This young girl seems to have been targeted. Now, it turns out that there is a active shooter alarm that was installed at the school. And a reporter would like to know from the president of the university, why is it, considering that there was a shooting over the weekend and then a full lockdown, why did the alarm never go off?
Do you believe that Brown had the precautions and safety measures in place before the shooting that were appropriate and necessary?
I do. And in fact, I'm glad you mentioned the sirens. I think there's been some misinformation about that. We have 2 security systems that we can activate in a time of an emergency. One is a system that sends out text messages, phone calls, emails, and it was activated within minutes of the incident. Those messages went out to 20,000 individuals, so all alerts. We also have a system of sirens. There are 3 sirens placed across campus. Those get activated when there is a broad-scale emergency and we want people to rush into buildings. In the case of an active shooter, activating that system could have caused people to rush into Barris and Hawley. So that's not a system that we would ever use in the case of an active shooter. So,
just to follow up, it does say on the website when it was launched that it is for an active shooter.
It depends on the circumstance.
Okay, so did you hear that? She went through this long and drawn-out excuse as to why these sirens wouldn't be used for an active shooting. But on their own website, where they advertised that these sirens had been installed, they themselves say that they are meant for an active shooting. And then she has to backtrack a little bit. Well, it depends. We could use them, even though I just told you we never would, and even though it said on our website that we definitely would.
It depends on the circumstances and where the active shooter would be, but you don't want to ever get people rushing into buildings that might be the site of an active shooting.
That's it.
That's my understanding.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, your understanding of the situation is woefully lacking. Now, this may be one of the reasons why Brown University is so gun-shy about people discovering who truly was the shooter. Now, yesterday we spoke about Mustafa Karbouch, the young man who is a Palestinian refugee, who's also gay and Muslim. I don't know how that works, who had his profile scrubbed from the university website. We're going to talk more about him in a moment, but it turns out that Brown University is one of those woke leftist DEI universities that entered into a settlement with the Trump administration only earlier this summer. So President Trump secured this historic settlement with Brown University to restore fairness, merit, and safety in higher education. The agreement that Brown signed ensures that they would not engage in unlawful racial discrimination in admissions or university programming. Brown will provide access to all relevant data and information to rigorously assess compliance with its commitment to merit-based admissions. Brown will pay $50 million over 10 years to state workforce development organizations that comply with anti-discrimination laws, supporting regional economic growth and career opportunities. Brown will adopt the definitions of male and female from President Trump's Executive Order 14168, defending women from gender ideology extremism for women's sports, programming, facilities, and housing. Brown will not perform gender reassignment surgeries on minors or prescribe them puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones. Brown will take steps to improve the campus climate for Jewish students and combat anti-Semitism. The agreement reinstates all HHS grants, restores Brown's eligibility for future grants and awards, and closes pending investigations into the university. The agreement establishes a 3-year monitoring period to ensure compliance with the agreement and federal laws. Now, addressing discrimination practices at Brown, this action to address concerns about violations of federal civil rights laws protecting students and upholding fairness in higher education. The settlement comes after public outcry over incidents and civil rights investigations into Brown's discrimination on the basis of race and national origin. Brown's failure to address anti-Semitism and ensure fair treatment for all students raised urgent concerns about student safety and equal opportunities. Brown's diversity, equity, and inclusion programs promoted unlawful race-based outcomes violating anti-discrimination laws. By securing the settlement, Trump and the administration is ensuring Brown upholds merit-based standards, complies with federal law, and fosters an environment of academic excellence and safety for all students. Also, advancing reforms in higher education, holding elite universities accountable, ensuring they prioritize fairness, merit, and American values. The administration has challenged elite universities like Harvard, Columbia, Brown, and others for discriminating against students and staff, failing to protect students from violent anti-Semitism, and otherwise failing to be a responsible steward for taxpayer dollars. President Trump signed a proclamation to safeguard national security by suspending the entry of foreign nationals seeking to study or participate in exchange programs at Harvard University. The administration successfully negotiated a resolution with the University of Pennsylvania to keep men out of women's sports and restore the trophies and records of women. And President Trump secured more than $200 million in settlements with Columbia University to resolve claims related to discriminatory practices, marking a significant win for accountability in academia. Now, keeping all of that in mind, the choice of young Ella as the intended victim of this shooting, it definitely hits on the very things that President Trump was seeking to protect. Protections for women, protections for people who are not people of color, because otherwise they were not being treated fairly. They were, in fact, being discriminated against, and certainly a white Christian as well, which may be indicative of why the killer had yelled Allahu Akbar. Now, again, Mustafa Karbouch is himself a Muslim and hails from Palestine. He's a refugee from Palestine. And this individual was also a research assistant for a professor at the university, Bashara Doumani. Now, Bashara Doumani served as the president of Birzeit University between 2021 and 2023. interestingly enough, Birzeit University is a Palestinian institution, which is colloquially known as Hamas University in the West Bank. And you can see here Bashara Doumani's page on the Birzeit University website. And there is also something interesting about him. There was not only a deletion of everything related to Mustafa Karbush, the program that he was involved in was the Institute for Palestine Studies. And there is also an essay, or you might say a manifesto that was written by Mustafa that was previously on the website, but it was also scrubbed by people in the IT department, I would suggest. So he says that he is a third-generation stateless Palestinian refugee born and raised in Lebanon. In his essay, he detailed his extensive involvement in pro-Palestinian activism at Brown. In the August 2024 piece, he titled, "I Hear the Voice of My Ancestors Calling from the Camps to the Campus." In the essay, he continues to write about helping operate the Brown Gaza Solidarity Encampment, which is one of those things which led to that settlement that we just read through. And he watched 61 of my comrades arrested, so it sounds like he's a commie as well, and caring for 19 students during an 8-day hunger strike. He described the movement as rooted in the Palestinian revolutionary tradition, which rejects colonialism, carcerality, and any other agents of imperialism or oppression. Now, that specific language, it actually sounds rather familiar, doesn't it? It kind of sounds like exactly what the Turtle Island Liberation Front stood for. That is certainly a connection that I think is worth investigating, because whatever Mustafa Karbush was into, there seems to be a fair amount of overlap between the Trans-Tifas, the Turtle Island, the Palestinian student organizations. They're all the exact same. They're against the government of the United States. They're against colonialism. They're against the incarceration of people. They are pro-commie. Everything that they stand for, these other individuals stand for as well. What if the people who were engaging in the Turtle Island bombing plans that took place, that were busted this past weekend, what if Mustafa's murder of young Ella was a direct response to that? Perhaps he was meant to be involved in something else. This is, of course, simply speculation, but it seems like, at least ideologically, he stands directly next to the people who were just busted, who were planning to commit a mass terror attack on New Year's Eve. So you can't find his pages anymore unless you go to the original archives of them. Now, the president of Brown, Christina Paxson, said that she has no knowledge of any student or faculty web pages that have been taken down, and that law enforcement is running the investigation, not the administration. Authorities have not publicly connected Karbush to the shooting. There is a $50,000 reward out there, but you can see in the essay, he opens by saying, "I hear the voice of my ancestors calling. I hear the voice of my ancestors call. I hear the voice of my ancestors calling. I hear the voice of my ancestors call, singing, wake up, child, wake up, listen, 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 singing, wake up, child, wake up, listen, 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 listen." This is a song called Ancestor Song, and it was popularized during the protest that the Palestine for Brown University students had put together. This was previously published at the Institute for Palestinian Studies. Now, the Attorney General of Rhode Island was specifically asked about Mustafa Karbush, and he did not want to talk about him. Seems that there are quite a few people there on the campus who want nothing to do with the conversation. But the family of Ella Cook, who is, of course, the young woman from Alabama, who was a sophomore, was told directly by police that she was, in fact, the target. Now, again, that second young man, Muhammad Aziz Umerskov, 18 years old, he appears to have just been collateral damage. And it looks like this shooter fired some 40 rounds in this building, and he only hit those two individuals. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the response from the Attorney General of Rhode Island when he was asked directly about this young man, Mustafa Carbush. Where the heck is it? I think maybe I may have. Okay, well, first of all, Brown University released a statement condemning what they call the doxing of a student whose name is being widely shared online. That would be Mustafa. And I believe, oh, shucks, hold on. I have to find my bookmark of this interaction that the Attorney General had, because I think that I pasted this link over it. Okay, I got it. Okay, so here is that interaction. The AG is not happy
about that name. And I know the name that you're asking about because a member of the media asked me about it. I am familiar with it. I wasn't familiar with it when the media member asked me about it. I think it was either CBS or NBC. I asked my team about it. I think this is an area where caution is really necessary. There are lots of reasons why a page might be taken down, particularly if there's chatter out there about, to your question, Amanda, about words that were spoken. It's easy to jump from someone saying words that were spoken to what those words are, to a particular name that reflects a motive targeting a particular person. That's a really dangerous road to go down. Really dangerous. If that name meant anything to this investigation.
How ironic is it that the Attorney General of Rhode Island is warning caution about the name of somebody who was previously publicly published on the website of this university, whose information is now being completely scrubbed from the internet after they arrested someone as a person of interest and then leaked that person's name to the media so that the entire internet could go on a feeding frenzy all weekend? That doesn't make much sense. Now, suddenly, because we've got a gay Palestinian Muslim who people are connecting to this shooting, now he wants to urge caution.
We would be out looking for that person. We would let you know we were looking for that person. You know, again, I think it's just a really dangerous road to go down. I know that in today's age, there are lots of things that people read into things. It's just a dangerous thing to do. And I would leave it to us to identify persons of interest and let us run them down. What the public can do for us today is help us figure out who this guy is. And we hope to have more information out that will help you do that, help us do that.
All right. Now, as he said, he was aware of information being scrubbed from the website. The president said she didn't know about anybody scrubbing any information from the website. So, of course, that begs the question, who is doing the cleanup? The Brown University official at Brown University released this statement where they claim that this student was doxxed in the aftermath of the shooting. We've seen a harmful doxing activity directed towards at least one member of the Brown University community. Again, his information was publicly available. It's important to make clear that targeting individuals could do irrevocable harm. Accusations, speculation, and conspiracies we're seeing on social media and in some news reports are irresponsible, harmful, and in some cases dangerous for the safety of individuals in our community. It is not unusual as a safety measure to take steps to protect an individual's safety when this kind of activity happens. Personally, I haven't seen it before, including in regard to their online presence. As law enforcement officials stated clearly on Tuesday afternoon, if this individual's name had any relevance to the current investigation, they would be actively looking for this individual and providing information publicly. Let me also remind you that as soon as Mustafa was identified, he also scrubbed his own social media accounts and locked everything down. I would say, just me personally, just spitballing here, if someone who looked like me, or maybe said, like if somebody dressed like me with a mask on, walked up to somebody in Washington, D.C., and said, "Good evening," and then shot them in the face, and they were like, "Oh my God, it looked just like Zak Paine," and he said the thing that he says when he starts the show. The first thing I would do would be to go to social media and say, yeah, that's definitely not me. I've been in Florida this entire time, so I couldn't have gone to D.C. and shot somebody in the face. I mean, that's what everybody would do. You would be actively looking to clear your name. But not Mustafa. Mustafa's first instinct was to clean up his own social media accounts and then go to the people at the school and have them clean up his media presence on the show, on the website as well. Now, we've gotten a little bit more information about the perpetrators. It would appear that this individual who committed the shooting may not have been acting alone, which would make a lot of sense. There is now another person of interest that the FBI is requesting information on. Now, I've got a couple of different pictures. It looks to me like it actually might be a woman, but let's go ahead and take a look at this video, which was released by the FBI.
News alert, Providence police just moments ago releasing this photo here on your screen. We'll pop it up of a second man they say was in the proximity of the person of interest.
Now, the pictures released by the Providence PD are such shit quality, you can't tell who anybody is. All you can see is kind of what they're wearing. But the one thing that does appear to be obvious here is that they've got a hoodie on, they're wearing a jacket, they've got pants, and the pants are black, which is similar to what the shooter was wearing. Now, there also appears to be something else that is tucked over the forehead of this person, and I think it might be a hijab. We'll take a look at another image here in just a moment. Now, the face from the side in this angle, even though it's kind of blurry, it looks rather feminine to me.
In the Brown University shooting, meaning the videos we've been showing on your screen of the alleged perp that has been walking around, this person was seen in that one's vicinity. So they are asking for the public's help identifying who this person is on your screen and urging anyone with information to please call the tip line. And remember,
I'd also like you to take note of those hips. Those hips appear to be very feminine as well.
No tip, no thought, no anything that you have is too small to be of potential value.
All right. So, of course, Providence PD put out pictures which, don't tell us anything. But here on the right is the man who is alleged to be the shooter. And then here on the left is a person that they were able to see that shooter actually communicating with on the street. If you'll remember yesterday, they had that brief video where the man puts his hands behind his back and it's almost like he's waiting for someone. That was what I said. First thing I said, it's like he's waiting to talk to somebody. And it looks like I was correct. Now you can see here even more that there is this black line that goes over their head and it's really tight to the scalp. So that makes me think that this individual is a woman. They're wearing a hijab. And that would go right in line with the whole Muslim thing that seems to be popping up. Now, take a look at this picture. Even more looks like a woman to me. That face appears to be very feminine. I don't see any facial hair, but that does, to me, look like it could easily be a woman. Now, you've got, again, this black thing over their head. It appears that it's possible there might be a continuation of that line that goes under the chin. But again, it's so grainy. All we can see is that there is darkness underneath that hoodie that this person is wearing. This is also an enhanced photo that is being shared by the Providence PD. They are again asking for any tips on who this individual may be. They haven't said whether it's a man or a woman, but it's looking like a woman to me. Now, I also one of the first things I said was that based upon the clothing the alleged shooter was wearing, he looked like, you know, what you would wear to work at McDonald's or something like that, like food service. You got the black pants, you had those black clog-like shoes. Well, that second person appears to have shoes which are very similarly shaped. Obviously, these ones look a little bit more worn down, but it turns out that this is the official footwear that workers at Brown University are supposed to wear. These are kind of similar to what they have like doctors and nurses wear when they're working at hotels, or not at hotels, at hospitals and stuff. I mean, Lisa, don't these look like the shoes that we got the daughter? Or you had said that she needed them. So either way, the FBI also posted this video over the weekend, or maybe it was earlier today, but then they deleted it. And I don't know what that means, but it is a full breakdown of the route that this individual took. And there is apparently every video that they have available. It's about 7 minutes long, and I'm going to go ahead and speed it up. But there is a couple of different incidents which seem to be of note. Makes it look as if you've got, first of all, this person walking here. Let me make sure this is going at double speed. Yep. So you've got the individual walking, this person crossing the street. Don't know if they have any connection to it, but this is the guy that they said they believe to be the shooter. And then he goes down this street, takes a right, crosses over. That appears to be another student. Makes his way back. Same direction. Now walks through here. Looks like he was looking down there for something. Yep. And this is where he's holding his arms. I think he was looking for another member of his team down that way. Comes back around the other side of the block. So he's almost walked back and forth 4 times. Now, this person, did you see that? This person, he sees them walking towards him, and then he cuts and runs down that other street. Look, he looks around the corner, sees this guy, and then runs this way. I think it's possible that that person may have been that other person of interest they're looking for, and they follow down that direction and actually runs, it looks like, to go catch up with him. So here he is walking down this street alone. Crosses back over in front of this house again, actually runs, goes back around the corner. What I would suggest is that he was killing time until he knew that Ella was going to be present at the school so that he could walk right in, shoot her, and then get away. Looked like perhaps he was looking at his phone or at a watch or something. Again, he's retracing his steps over and over again. Did you see him looking up, too? It's possible he was looking to see if there were any cameras. Now, now here's the thing. Look at this. This is some kind of a car camera, and they catch him just across the street. Then all of this is before the shooting. So I think it's safe to assume that he was retracing his steps, going back and forth, looking to make contact with somebody, and waiting for the signal from whoever else is on that team. Now, 16:03, he goes inside and he commits the killing. And look at this. He walks right by the cops. This is right after the shooting occurred. Cops are already on scene. And he walks right by them. And nobody thought anything about it, even though he's wearing a mask, et cetera, et cetera. Boom. And he's gone, off in the wind. Now, that person of interest that we were just talking about, that's the person who is alleged to have shot Ella and Muck. The other person that I showed the pictures of, I don't know that we have video of that individual. I don't know if that person that, seemed like maybe they were trying to make contact with this alleged shooter, I don't know if that was the same person. We're not aware of that 100%, but I am looking at those pictures, the hips, the soft features, that perhaps hijab. I think that might be a woman. All right. Listen, before we continue, I have just a very brief message from our friends over here on Rumble. Thank you very much, everyone. If you still have not tried 1775 coffee, you now have an opportunity to do so. Their starter kits are still available. They've got about 1,000 of them. And in that starter kit, you're going to get their bold dark roast that hits nice and hard, their smooth medium roast, nice and smooth, and that Vitality Mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus without the crash. All of it made from the highest quality coffee available. Single origin, small batch, toxin and mold free. Plus, you're going to get that gold spoon clip, a strong frother to stir up your coffee, just like you do your mother-in-law's opinions, and a free black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, and it's all yours for $99. This is for people who have been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and wonder if it's actually worth it. It truly is, and to find out yourself, you can go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab one of those starter kits before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Thank you very, very much. All right, now, need to say thank you very much to Teresa Pagano, who says, Zach, FYI, Andrew Bailey, the former AG of Minnesota, was named co-deputy director back in September. You are absolutely correct. He would be an incredible replacement for Dan Bongino, and now that he was made co-director, that move makes total sense. He was just planning to work alongside Dan so that when Dan left, he could just immediately step into the position. Andrew Bailey is a warrior, and I can't imagine a better candidate who would actually come in and take over. Thank you for that. We'll go ahead and pull that up in a second. And then also, Emerald Dragon says, achoo, sorry, I'm allergic to the bullshit coming from Rhode Island. Ha ha ha. Love it. Thank you to Sean Joe for a cookie and a can. Thank you to Filter Dog, who says Brown was sued to take down their CCTV cameras. I did not know that. Also, thank you to Lynn17 for the cookie. And thank you to Gentry's Garage. Please do Andrew Jackson's plaque. I don't think that they actually had an Andrew Jackson plaque. At least I haven't seen it reported anywhere. All right. So, jumping back in here, this is a story that I was actually going to talk about yesterday and didn't have an opportunity to do so. An elderly woman named Jeannie was working at Target, and she was accosted by a liberal. This happened at a Target store in Chico, California, and the woman who approached her and accosted her verbally was very rude. And then published her interaction with this elderly woman who was just trying to do her job on TikTok and thought that she was going to be praised for berating this woman for wearing a Charlie Kirk Freedom shirt. It was totally disgusting. Take a listen.
Why?
They let you wear that shirt here?
Yes. Why?
So,
why are you taking my picture?
Why are you wearing that shirt? You're working. It's not
It's
a Target
red shirt. I can wear any red shirt.
It's not a plain shirt.
It doesn't have to be
It's a Charlie Kirk shirt.
Yes. Yes, I know.
Are you fucking stupid?
No.
Why the fuck would you wear that? You're at work at Target. That's not a Target shirt. It's not a plain red shirt. You support a racist.
It's not racist.
You support a racist.
He's not a racist.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Yes, he fucking is.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to stand here and argue with you.
You're not. You should go get your manager. You should not be allowed to wear that at work. Unacceptable. Unfucking acceptable.
That's your opinion.
No, the opinion is he's a fucking racist and you support him.
That's your opinion, ma'am.
And you should not be allowed to wear that. This is going to be taken above your fucking head. That's insane. Insane.
Have a nice day.
In-fucking-sane. Piece of shit.
Absolutely incredible that this woman would feel this is an appropriate thing to do. Now, the good news is Miss Jeannie someone set up a Give Send Go account for her, and just before noon earlier today, it was at $94,000. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, it's up to $162,000. $162,000. Jeez, oh, Pete's. Oh, my gosh. That is absolutely incredible to see people rallying around her. She is a 72-year-old woman working at Target, fully in compliance. All Target wants you to do is wear a red shirt. They don't even tell you what has to be on it or what can't be on it. And there's no reason that she shouldn't feel emboldened enough to wear a shirt memorializing Charlie Kirk and the freedom that is afforded to citizens of the United States of America. Now, this woman's name is, what is her name? It is Ponce, Michaela Ponce. Not only is she a far-left moron, she's also a nurse, probably one of those people who was telling conservatives that if you came before her in a hospital, she would probably let you die. I don't know. I'm just assuming. But she unleashed this tirade on this elderly woman out of nowhere. And all she was doing was working, stocking shelves at this store in Chico, California. Now, the elderly woman's last name has not been revealed because obviously she's 72. She doesn't even want to deal with this stuff. But this woman demands clearly that she take off her shirt. She calls her effing stupid and says that she's supporting a racist. I want to say that Jeannie is a class act. She handled it perfectly. There was only one thing that was unacceptable in that interaction, and it was Miss Ponce's response to Jeannie's freedom wearing that shirt. Everybody overwhelmingly is in support of that woman. Now, according to her daughter, Jeannie's daughter, she has not had the easiest life. Monday was the 12th anniversary of her husband's death by suicide. He had a long battle with a serious illness. He had oncoming dementia, and he did not want to have to be here anymore. He didn't want to saddle his wife with the future of taking care of him as he gradually slipped away and forgot everything that he loved about this world. So now she passionately works to raise awareness about suicide prevention. Now, Miss Ponce is a nurse that is at this time, or at the time of the writing of this, employed at Enclo Health in Chico, California. It's a nonprofit healthcare system, and they've got a history of controversial social media posts on Miss Ponce's accounts, including a now private TikTok video where she claimed that people in her town believe that she has a hit list. I wouldn't not believe it. In a significant update, the Chico Police Department announced on Facebook that they are actively investigating Miss Ponce for the viral video and her accosting of this innocent elderly woman at Target. Now, their statement said the Chico Police Department is aware of a video circulating online depicting a verbal confrontation inside a local business. We are actively investigating the incident with our local partners. Residents have reported that this is not the first time Miss Ponce has been accused of causing trouble in this exact same way. There have been a number of complaints about her bullying and the type of behavior that you saw in that video. She's also apparently very active on social media, and her antics have unfortunately led to people targeting Enclo Health. There also appears to be a record of domestic violence in her name. She lives with her spouse, Jose Ponce, who is apparently 14 years older than her. He is 46 years old. They live in a pretty big house in Orland, California, so it looks like maybe she's some type of a gold digger. There have also been images of her husband, Jose, that have surfaced, including one in which he's posing next to a car with a Charlie Kirk sticker while holding his fingers to his throat. Like, that is something to be proud of. You can see here Michaela Ponce and Jose Ponce. I don't know if that's Michaela or if maybe that's their child or something like that, but Look at this. This guy is not a class act, and he and his wife obviously are meant for each other. Now, Enclo Health, the employer of Miss Ponce, has responded to the controversy in a statement posted to their Facebook. Many people reached out concerned about how Ponce would treat patients that may be in her care. They say that the Chico Police Department is investigating this social media post on the personal account of an Enclo Health employee. We are deeply concerned about the tenor of this post and the response it is creating from individuals of all political persuasions. We ask for patience and calm as we conduct our own internal investigation on this matter, and in the meantime, we are relying on the expertise of the Chico Police Department to investigate any potential criminal activity. Let me see if I can get this to open up. Any potential criminal activity or threats related to it. Currently, extremely high call volumes related to this post are overwhelming Enclose switchboard, Enlo's switchboard, and our clinic phone lines, which have negatively impacted our patients' ability to reach clinical staff. If you wish to share a comment with Enlo Health related to this employee's social media post, please email us at share@enlo.org or call a special number to leave a message. That number is 530-332-9818, just in case any viewers out there are in this area of California or you have also had an interaction with Miss Ponce. Once again, that number is 530-332-9818. They say in closing, thank you for helping us ensure patients who need medical treatment can reach a caregiver. Once again, the number is 530-332-9818, or you can email at share@enlo.org, ENLOE.org. Of course, don't email them or call them to be rude, but of course, you are free to email or call them if you have a question or comment about this employee's very disturbing behavior. Now, we also have a video here which details those domestic abuse violations. Looks like Michaela Ponce and her publicly available arrest record is now also making the rounds. You can see here her TikTok account is at Mother of All Ballers. She's got 19.7 thousand followers. Don't know if that's still the same. But here we do have her arrest records. Michaela Josephine Ponce, previously arrested for third-degree harassment. That's not surprising. Criminal mischief in the second degree, as well as first-degree harassment for intimidation.
Michaela from Chico that likes to go up and yell at old ladies. Looks like you got a criminal record, girl. Do you think that you really should have put that on the internet with a criminal record? Did you think that that wasn't going to come up? Anyways, Michaela, I am not surprised by her actions in that Target after seeing all the things that she's been, somebody issued an order of protection. Like, she's not allowed to go see that person anymore, and she violated it. And did you see that she was...
What is wrong with people? Like, you can't keep your emotions in check for long enough that somebody has to file charges against you for just being such a perennial asshole. And then after you've already been scolded by the legal system, scolded by the judge, a personal order of protection has already been entered, and you can't get your wits about you for long enough. You have to go back, dip into that same well, and continue to harass that person. There is an epidemic of stupidity and lack of emotional intelligence in the United States of America today. And it seems like it's a lot to do with liberal white women. Although, let's be honest, women in general are just a little bit more emotional. If you hear about men breaking a protective order, it's usually also has some sort of domestic violence connotation with it. Like they're going to like do harm to their girlfriend, or their wife. But women seem to just want to make your life as difficult as possible. What is that?
She was charged with harassment and intimidation, criminal mischief. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it's just delightful. I just wonder how she got a job as a medical assistant, because that's what her title is. How did she get this job?
Yeah, Red Pill Ryan, the medical The infirmaries for the medically insane are scheduled to reopen. That's obviously going to take some time as well. Unfortunately, there were many different mental institutions all around this nation that were in, active use for many, many years. And they were shut down as part of the modernization of the medical and healthcare system many years ago. And that obviously put all of those people with significant mental disabilities out onto the streets. And that really pumped the homelessness problem into high degree. And then, of course, once you've got people like Michaela Ponce, who simply don't know how to control themselves in a situation like this, it really does beg the question why they haven't been reopened yet. Of course, they can't just reopen the same hospitals because those things have been gutted and many people have stolen the copper out of the buildings. Anything that's metal has been scrapped, and water damage, holes in the roof. You're going to have to build all new institutions. But Michaela Ponce does seem like a perfect candidate to go back into a place like that. So real quick, before we continue, I'd like to do just a brief search on X to see if anything additional, learning my lesson from the Dan Bongino situation. Hold on. It looks like there's something else in regards to Brown University, but let's see. Michaela Ponce. I just want to see if she's lost her job, because nothing would make my day more than that. Okay, so that woman, Michaela Ponce, clearly lacks respect for others and their opinions, obviously. Let's see. Here is a picture of her. She's wearing a fake MAGA hat that says, "Make racism wrong again." To absolute human trash. I would have to agree with you there. Of course, she is a Dem voter, and it looks like she has shut down her TikTok account. Still got the same number of followers. Don't know if she's going to lose many. Probably the people who follow her are... I love that they did this. 530. That's the old number. You don't want to call 530-3327-D300. You want to call the other number that I mentioned multiple times. Her husband, total trash as well. Okay, no. Ooh, okay. This appears to just be somebody calling her out. I want to see. Wait. Has she been arrested? 9 minutes ago, she was arrested.
Woman arrested for verbally abusing elderly woman in public at Target. After spotting an employee wearing...
Now, this is a video that is narrated by artificial intelligence, and we can't see the face of Michaela Ponce in the video of her being arrested. Wait, why is she wearing a Trump hat?
Elderly woman. The elderly woman, old enough to be her...
Yeah, so I can't say specifically whether or not that was Michaela Ponce being arrested. Here she is, looks like speaking on the news, perhaps?
Public, onto an innocent elderly stranger. The elderly woman's family had...
Mexican Heritage Flag Society. Let's see, Michaela Ponce arrested. If this has happened, I'm going to be so happy. No, it just looks like that might have been a clickbait video right there. Her juvenile daughter was refusing to give her mother her phone. Both parties were separated, and Michaela was advised of her options. This was this summer, July 15th. Okay, yes, if we get an update on Michaela Ponce being arrested, then you know that we will go ahead and talk about it. Yeah, okay. Someone there was saying that she has not been arrested. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll follow up as necessary. All right, and oh, you know what? I forgot to play that new video from the press conference at Brown. Let's do that real quick and see if they've got any new information.
It's elective to turn out for a study session. So we don't know exactly what fraction of the overall roster turned out for voluntary review session.
So there's no physical log, just to clarify?
Law enforcement is working to reconstruct that, but there would not be a formal law.
The camera in that building, they Brown put off because
the sanctuary city law that we have. You don't want.
You hear that? That's an immigrant. That's an immigrant whose first language is not English, who is excoriating them for the sanctuary city policies that they have there in Providence.
We call illegal immigrants, and you don't want to provide the footage to the FBI or immigration authority. One camera in that building, it come out from your detectives. They're a friend of mine. They're angry at this investigation that these people in Brown University put the camera off. They can identify that person. You imagine how the family is going to go through? Tell the truth to the media here. You guys are putting cameras off. And
we heard from both the Brown police chief and the provost at Brown.
Man, how can they really tell that guy to stop talking? Because of course he's an immigrant. He's got a stake in all of this. God, I love that. All right, now, good news and just desserts for Joseph Robinette Biden, Sleepy Joe Biden, Autopen Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, as memorialized on the Wall of Heroes. The Trump administration has just denied Joe Biden's request for executive privilege because Congress is, of course, still investigating his use of the Autopen. Now, Joe Biden asked in his request for executive privilege, "I am concerned that disclosure of these materials would damage important institutional interests of the presidency, including by impairing the ability of future presidents to receive robust, candid advice from their close advisors. For these reasons, I hereby assert executive privilege over the documents listed." This was in the letter that Biden wrote to the archive at the National Archives, dated on October 1st. The White House counsel, David Warrington, responded to Joe Biden's letter, stating, "Similarly, President Biden's repeated abuses of the rights of American citizens during the pandemic and his politically motivated efforts to investigate members of Congress must also be subject to a full accounting to ensure nothing similar ever happens again. Congress has a compelling need in service of its legislative functions to understand the circumstances that led to these horrific events." It's funny because they, of course, denied President Trump executive privilege, and they forced people such as Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro to come in and testify. And when they invoked executive privilege, instead of allowing them to have it as they should have, they put them both in prison. Now, let's talk about Fani G. Money Willis. Fani Willis earlier today testified in her spectacular fashion before a Georgia Senate Special Committee. They were investigating her handling of the unfair and totally politically motivated RICO case against President Trump and his various team members, electors, his legal team, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Fani had tried to block subpoenas for a long time, which were meant to compel her to come in and testify before this committee. Of course, one of the top things that they wanted to ask, which we covered ad nauseum during the course of President Trump's trial, was her relationship to one Nathan Wade. Now, one reason they are particularly interested, not only, the nature of the relationship, but also the agreement that they entered into, why she paid him as much as she did. But it's most interesting because she perjured herself when asked about this relationship previously. We know that they had an affair. I mean, that is totally not in contention at this time. She hired her boyfriend to hunt down President Trump in this RICO case, a man who had never had any sort of prosecutorial experience in this manner, somebody who she was paying far more than any of the other very experienced attorneys that she brought in to her district attorney's office. And when she and Nathan testified about their relationship, they testified that it only began in 2022. Now, of course, that was after Nathan Wade had been hired in 2021. But here's the problem. They've been proven to be liars, perjurers on this incident, because according to cell phone data, Wade would visit a condo that was owned by Fani Willis. She was residing in this place called the Yurdy condo. Yurdy, I believe, was the street name. And he visited it many different times before he was hired in November of 2021. We also had a previous court filing which revealed that Nathan Wade paid for luxury vacations that he took with Fani Willis to Napa Valley. He took her on a cruise to the Caribbean, and he used money from Fulton County to pay for out-of-town escapades that they were going on. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not taking any women that I'm in a relationship with on cruises or to Napa Valley or showing up at their condo in the middle of the night unless you're actually in a relationship. I mean, that's just how adults operate. But county records show that Nathan Wade played a prominent role in the election interference case, and he was, again, paid far more than anybody else, nearly $654,000 from the time he was hired in January 22 until the time that he was asked to step down. And guess what? It is the district attorney, Fani Willis herself, who authorizes the compensation. Nathan Wade spent money on Fani Willis. He bought her flowers. He paid for hotels. He took her on first-class airfare travels, took her on the cruise. He paid for Ubers. We have bank statements which prove that Nathan Wade bought Fani Willis airplane tickets from to Miami to San Francisco. And during this testimony today, Fani Willis completely wigged out in the course of her testimony. She even played the race card and said that people were yelling the N-word when they were driving by her house, much like of course, Tim Walz said that people were yelling retard as they drove by the governor's mansion. I don't know how big the property is at the governor's mansion, but I don't know. I tend to believe there's probably a fairly good-sized yard there. So don't know that anybody is going to get that word yelled all the way across the lawn. Now, let's take a look at some of the finer moments of this testimony. If you saw in the thumbnail, I made Fani Willis look like a pimp, okay? I added the hat, but this coat is all her, okay? This coat is 100% Fani Willis. Fani Willis showed up dressed to the nines, wearing fur. She's got the gold necklace on. This time her dress was turned around the correct way, so at least there's that. But another aspect of her outfit is this $11,000 Louis Vuitton haute couture purse that she was carrying. It's called a Louis Vuitton LV fan bag, and it is an exclusive from the 2025 Spring-Summer Runway Collection by Louis Vuitton. That's your hat. Yeah, that's my hat. This bag is priced at $10,990 before taxes, and it is a limited edition, very, very sought-after piece that not only could most people not afford if it came down to it, but in order to actually procure one, I wouldn't even know where to tell you to go purchase it. Now, Fani Willis makes a lot of money. And, of course, she was getting a lot of the benefits. The reason I made her look like a pimp is because she was quite literally pimping out Nathan Wade. She was getting him paid, she was getting that ass, and she was getting the benefit of those paychecks that were going into his bank account. He was spending money on her. That's one of the things that is being investigated, the illicit gains that Fani Willis made as a result of hiring her boy toy to go after the president of the United States in a lawfare investigation. So this limited edition runway piece is not something you're going to see on anybody else's side. Now, this individual writes, nothing says public servant under investigation quite like a rare 5-figure luxury accessory debuting before the committee. The taxpayers of Fulton County undoubtedly paid for this bag that Fani Willis has sitting on the desk right here. You can go to Louis Vuitton's website. They don't even have it for sale on the website. You've got to contact them directly, and I think that they'll probably get you all set up. Now, this is the website right here. Apparently, you can go to the us.vestaircollective.com. Don't know what that is. but you can purchase it from them for $10,990, and then taxes and, of course, import duties are going to be charged. Introducing the LV Fan, a statement design that debuted on the spring-summer 2025 runway. This collector's piece is crafted with a monogram canvas. It can be worn crossbody or carried by hand. Note the monogram flower signature detail on leather, which pay tribute to the house's savoir-faire and legacy. In addition to showing up, appearing to be completely disconnected from the plebs that she is supposed to be working for, she was, of course, asked directly about her relationship with Nathan Wade. She also seems to have a rather contentious relationship with her attorney. Her attorney was advising her not to answer certain questions, but take a look. Here she is, and she gets very upset when asked directly about that inappropriate relationship with Nathan Wade where she profited.
Was there a lead on your transition team?
I was the lead. I was the DA.
Okay. Was there another person that you consulted with more than the others?
No.
I believe Mr. Wade said under testimony that he was a part of over 90% of these meetings or decisions. Do you recall that being an approximate accurate statement as to his involvement?
I can't speak to any other person's testimony, so I'm not going to ever comment on someone's testimony. If he testified to such, you're going to need to show it to me. You'll have to forgive me. I don't really trust you. So I'll have to see that particular testimony.
Do you recall Mr. Wade
being...
Wait just a minute. She's got a right to finish her answer. You don't have a right to cut her off.
That's incorrect, Governor. Thank you.
Sir. It is.
Yeah, that's incorrect, Governor. The man that is representing her is the former governor of the state of Georgia, apparently.
I'll be completing answers, sir. So
sure.
We should get that straight from the
Was Mr. Wade part of, would you say, more than half of the interviews that you conducted?
Yes.
Would you say it was more than 75% of the interviews you
I'm not going to guess
conducted?
at numbers. He was definitely more than half.
And what percentage of decisions, was the same percentage of decisions that he was a part of?
I take wise counsel from a group of people. So I took wise counsel from him. I took wise counsel from Deputy Bond. Ultimately, I made the decision on who stayed and who went.
Was Mr. Wade paid for this transition work?
None of them were paid. It was all volunteer work.
All right. Now, real quickly before we continue, I have just a brief mention of a sponsor over here on Rumble. All right. If you are still scrambling to find the perfect Christmas gift, you're maybe gonna have some trouble because a lot of shipping deadlines have already passed. So this is your lifeline, the Chicago Steak Company. Head on over to mychicagosteak.com/rumble. Use that code RUMBLE because they are definitely still shipping for Christmas, and Christmas is Christmas is about giving, and shipping is also totally free. So hurry on over there because their slots are filling up fast, and you want to make sure these steaks get delivered before Christmas morning. Your gift is going to arrive with the top quality beef. This is the top 2% of beef in America. USDA Prime and Premium Angus, hand cut by master butchers. The marbling is so good when it hits a hot pan, fills the entire house with that buttery meat goodness, the smell that you crave. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And the best part is when you spend $229, they're going to throw in 6 free ribeyes plus free shipping. And that is $240 in premium steak totally on the house. Merry Christmas. Your gift is going to show up in a black and gold box packed with dry ice. When it gets cracked open, the vapor is going to roll out. It's like an instant Christmas morning feel. So skip the sweaters. Nobody wants them. Everybody loves steak. You got to give them something they're actually going to remember. mychicagosteak.com/rumble. Once again, that code is RUMBLE, Rumble. Use the QR code on screen. Get yourself free shipping and 6 free ribeyes when you use that code RUMBLE at mychicagosteak.com/rumble. Thank you very much. All right. Now, the questions about Nathan Wade did not stop there because that was merely the beginning. In this interaction, Fani Willis gets mouthy yet again, and she says that she is being asked dumb-ass questions. Take a listen.
So it's your testimony today that you and Mr. Wade did not have any conversations prior. What's going on? I got to refresh it. Hold on.
So the line of questioning here, Fani Willis is being asked about the timeline because it does appear that prior to Nathan Wade being hired in at the DA's office, while he was the boyfriend of Fani Willis, cheating on his own wife, there were conversations related to the plan to take down President Trump. Now, Fani Willis and Nathan Wade both deny that assertion, but take a listen.
So it's your testimony today that you and Mr. Wade did not have any conversations prior to you taking office relative to an investigation into the 2020 election.
Don't answer that. That is a deliberative privilege of what goes on in a district attorney's mind and the process that goes on.
She wasn't district attorney.
She was.
Prior to being sworn in, she was district attorney?
No, she was not, but you asked.
I'll return to my question. Prior to you being sworn in as district attorney, is it your testimony today that you did not have any conversation with Mr. Wade about investigating the 2020 election?
Now, of course, he doesn't want her to answer that question because she's already denied that any such conversation happened. Of course, it's always difficult to keep your lies straight when you have to tell so many. Her lawyer, the former governor of Georgia, attempted to get her away from that question by saying that this question was, in fact, privileged information from the deliberative conversations that would take place between a district attorney and a subordinate. But as the Georgia Senate committee has established, the question is not about the timeline after she became district attorney. It is about what was discussed before she became district attorney. Now, Fani Willis, much like Letitia James, publicly stated before being elected that she wanted to take down President Trump. And so she's looking at her attorney for the confirmation to either answer the question or not answer the question. And he's not speaking because he knows that the question has just been clarified. The timeline is not congruent with his reasoning for her to not answer.
It's a dumbass question.
I know it is, but go ahead and tell him because it occurred after she took office. But
I didn't know that he was going to commit a crime prior to me taking office. Like, factually, it's impossible.
Okay, thank you.
She still did not answer the question. So Fani Willis gets even more frustrated with the next question, where, once again, she is asked about Nathan Wade.
The date that I have is January 24th of 2022. Does that seem within the range of being the correct date?
So I already stated I don't trust you. I understand you're trying to run for lieutenant governor right now. Anything you want me to testify to, I'm going.
She is under oath. Yes, she is definitely under oath.
We'll need to see.
Okay.
Oh, so now she wants to see all of the questions in advance. Unfortunately, Fani, that's not how it works.
Were you aware that in between the time of the special grand jury being sworn in and receiving evidence, Mr. Wade traveled to Athens, Georgia to meet with officials from the White House counsel's office?
Boom.
I don't recall.
On the right-hand side here is the meeting that I reference. The highlighted section reads, travel to Athens, conf with White House.
How does this
counsel.
assist you in developing laws for Georgia? Because I believe the purpose that I'm here for is because you all need assistance in doing your job, and you want assistance with rules and regulations around how people should be a prosecutor. And it made sense to me that you'd come to the best prosecutor in the state to ask for some advice. But I'm confused as to how this assists you and what the purpose of me being here is.
The committee has a broad purpose. I'd be happy to refer to counsel as to the overall purpose of the committee. But my question for you is, as it relates
I don't
to
think
this
it's relevant, so I'm objecting on relevance.
she's asked and answered that. She's told you that the TUI process goes through the White House counsel's office. She's asked, it's been asked and answered.
And it's your testimony today that the travel to Athens, conference with the White House counsel, as far as you were aware, was due to a part of this TUI process that the governor's referencing.
I've testified. I don't recall anything about this.
Okay.
And I don't see how it's relevant.
Oh, it's relevant.
To what your alleged purpose is. Now, your real purpose is to try to get elected, which I would say, Georgia, please, let's elect any lieutenant governor but this one.
Woo, she's got such a mouth on her. She is the person being questioned. She doesn't have the right to object to a question in this venue. It's not a trial court. This is a special investigative committee. And of course, she wants to characterize it as if they're just stating that they need her there for advice. But really, she's the one being investigated because she engaged in some really unsavory activity. Now, I mentioned earlier the amount of money that Nathan Wade was paid. We spoke about that at length when it came out, when Nathan Wade was summarily removed from this case, and then Fani Willis herself was also removed. And in this interaction, there is a attempt to get to questions about Nathan Wade's rates. But Fani Willis knows that, and she tries to filibuster her way past this question and is unsuccessful.
County, so it's a repetitive question.
What's the name of the deputy of operations?
The question has been asked and answered, and I believe it goes straight to the county, so I'm not sure. Dexter Bond.
Okay. Do you know who ATG may be, initials within your office?
I don't.
Now, this is in regards to who would approve invoices and payment decisions. Now, Dexter Bond, on paper, is the guy that would do it. But as we learned at that time, Fani was having her subordinates rubber stamp things like the amount of money that Nathan Wade was getting paid.
I would assume it's accurate to say it's probably not Dexter Bond.
It may be somebody at the county.
What we're looking at here are two bills that were paid by and approved by your department. The one on the left is from the Cross firm, which refers to Anna Cross that we referenced earlier. The one on the right is
Anna Cross, one of the other attorneys that was brought in to assist in the Trump persecution.
Invoice number 11 from Nathan Wade. And the first thing
Let me tell you why this is such a damn...
Now, for comparative purposes, that's why the gentleman on the committee is bringing up both of these invoices at the same time, because he wants to show the disparity between Miss Cross's rate and Nathan Wade's rate and the number of hours that each of them were individually billing. Fani Willis is aware that that's the direction of this line of questioning. And of course, it's not something that she wants to get into.
First thing that jumps out to me as a non-lawyer, but as someone who has paid lawyer bills before, and I believe this gets to the question, the question which was around block billing. And here's my question for you, Madam DA. Are there rules in your contracts or otherwise when you hire independent contractors that gets to the billing methodology for your attorneys?
Now, if I remember correctly, Anna Cross was billing in incremental portions of hours. Nathan Wade only billed in full hours.
In other words, are they allowed to always bill to the even hour? Or is there a professional expectation that they would bill to the 10th or
Let me tell you something. I had 3 attorneys working with me that had integrity. For you to insinuate that a judge that sat for 10 years and was the head of the magistrate court judges, that they did something illegal. They were underpaid. I have here documents where in one annual year, because I want you to remember his bills were over the course of 3 years, in one annual year made $8 million, made $5 million. And I'm going to make sure that the press has that so that when you're asking me about this great service to the state of Georgia, that it is understood that these are more than reasonable, actually bargain basement amounts. Ms. Cross would insist that I wrote government rate in her contract because she...
Now, she's getting all lippy, and she points to Miss Cross's rates, which were fine. Nothing wrong with Miss Cross's rates. Nobody has had any questions about whether or not Miss Cross was getting paid more than she should have. It's always been about Nathan Wade.
I didn't want anyone to get confused that she would actually work for this rate, but for the fact that it was service to her community. So I don't know what we're talking about here, but to insinuate these 3 lawyers that have great integrity, have served this community well, did...
No, watch him, okay? He just looks at his watch. He's like, we got to get the hell out of here. This is not going well. Pay attention to his face.
Something unethical. I don't know why we're having this conversation.
I'm trying to.
I don't know anything about the whatever you're talking about.
The state of Georgia allocates funding to.
He's getting exasperated. He's like, oh, God. He's like, you got to shut up. You got to shut up.
Your office.
They hire those 25 lawyers, yes.
And we are trying to, the questioning here is relative to the approval process of invoices that are paid by your office. You have testified that that is done by Dexter Bond, that you're unaware of who this ATG is that signed off on this. So we'll move on to this further line of questioning here.
All right. That further line of questioning is where he really wanted to go, which is the rates that Nathan Wade was being paid. Because as you will see, and as you probably remember when I covered it at the time, Nathan Wade was billing for hours that were physically impossible. Listen to this.
Screen.
I don't review those documents, so you're asking me to look at documents that I haven't for the first time. What I can tell you is that I only allowed Mr. Wade.
I'll give you time to bill the doc. Okay, and you can see here, Anna Cross was billing in quarter hours, a 0.4 hour, a tenth of an hour, a half an hour, a quarter of an hour again. But again, Nathan Wade was just billing in full hours.
To bill 160 hours a week. And
did you hear that? She says, I allowed Nathan Wade to bill 160 hours a week. One person in a 40-hour week billing 160 hours? 160 hours? First of all, that's not possible. Okay. Second of all, it screams some type of nepotistic corruption. 160 hours. And keeping in mind that his rates were far higher than Miss Cross or the other attorneys that were working in this office. 160 hours a week. Now, she said that she hadn't seen these documents prior to this, but these documents have been public for a long time. Long time. Hold on. There's a bot in the chat. Okay. I don't know who these people are that want us to go to this website, but we are not about to. 160 hours. Yes. Nathan Wade was billing for a month's worth of billing every week. A month's worth of billing every single week.
Mr. Wade would be the first one in the office making sure that my staff arrived. He corrected their behavior. They thought that 8:30 meant 8:30. He taught them that 8:30 means 7:45. He got there before them. He left after him. He taught them how to do this case, and he was a leader to that team. And
again, he didn't have any prosecutorial experience in terms of RICO. So I don't know what he was teaching them. I'll tell you what, he was putting in that work with Miss Fani, though. Ooh, baby.
A public servant. And for that, him like me has been threatened thousands of times. You want something to investigate as a legislature? Investigate how many times they've called me the N-word. Why don't you investigate that? Why don't you investigate them writing on my house? Why don't you investigate the fact that my house has been swatted? If you want something to do with your time that makes sense, and you can use all this in your campaign ad, you attacked Fani Willis. What have you done, sir? Nothing.
So I'm going to refer you to the screen. I know you.
It's like, oh, please just shut up. Please just shut up and look. She corrected her when she came back. She said it was a misspeak.
Said you don't approve.
I don't look at this. I've never seen it, so I can't talk to you about documents I don't approve and don't review. Can't talk to you about it.
Who does approve the documents in your office when invoices come in?
I thought we'd been through this.
I don't believe you said who reviews the invoices and approves the invoices in your office.
First of all, I have no firsthand knowledge of it.
You have no firsthand knowledge.
You want me to testify about something I don't have any firsthand knowledge of?
I'm asking.
All right, so somebody in the chat said that she misspoke. I mean, he didn't correct her. I did not hear an accurate figure, but all I know is that Nathan Wade was being paid far, far, far more, many millions of dollars. And either way, the amount of hours that he was billing would seem to indicate that even when he was asleep, he was eating, breathing, drinking, not only Fani and that Fani, but this Trump case. All right. Now, here she claims that this questioning, it's not about getting to the truth. It's not about oversight. It's about intimidation. The case is already over. The case is already over. And regardless, I mean, I'm sorry that people have called you the N-word. I'm sorry that, as you claim, people have intimidated you or made it impossible for you to live at your home. Kudos, though, that you can afford a house and then a condo and then a summer home, like whatever you got going on, Fani, like you pulled in those bucks. That pimp game is strong with Fani Willis. But how many times people called you this or that or were mean to you has nothing to do with the corruption that was on display, the bald-faced persecution of President Trump and everybody in his circle, so that you could try to help stop this man from coming back into the White House. Thank you very much to Untitled82 for gifting that subscription. I appreciate you.
You all want to intimidate people from doing the right thing, and you think that you're going to intimidate me. Trying to intimidate me for 5 years, which is why I have not been able to live in my house for 5 years, because the N-word has been written on my house. Thousands of threats have come to my office, and instead of doing some legislation, when someone says something inflammatory that is going to cause them to be the victims of crime, you ought to do something about it. But you see, I'm not Marjorie Taylor Greene. I ain't gonna quit in a month because somebody threatens me. I took an oath to do the right thing. People came into my community and committed a crime, and I indicted them. And rest assured, if someone else comes in my community and commits a crime, I will indict them again.
The only problem is that there was no crime that was committed, which is why the case was ultimately dropped. Fani Willis's testimony did not go well today. Did not go well. Now, even though the case has been dropped in Georgia, unfortunately, a corrupt judge in Wisconsin, maybe in response to the ongoing trial of former Judge Hannah Dugan, which is happening right now. Remember, she took a illegal alien. She lied to ICE. She snuck him out the back door, and they had to chase him down in the street. She is currently on trial for that action. And this judge in Wisconsin is allowing this case to go forward against President Trump's attorneys. Now, you'll probably remember in Wisconsin in 2020, 140,000 ballots were dropped very early in the morning, late at night, early in the morning, the day after the election, which is what allowed Joe Biden to overcome President Trump's 120,000 vote lead from late in the evening on the election. This is the famous F curve, where Joe Biden's vote totals mysteriously and magically surpassed President Trump's in key areas around the country. You can see here, we all remember it at the time, mysteriously, all at once, all of these ballots come in. They're all for the same candidate. That is not only improbable, it is statistically impossible that there would be no ballots for President Trump in a large chunk of votes that would just be dropped off the day after the election. This is one of the most obvious examples of how fraud was committed in the 2020 election. There were numerous corrupt acts that were identified in the state of Wisconsin, which allowed Joe Biden to steal this election from President Trump. Very, very obvious that fraud was committed, and the results that were certified in this election were patently illegal. We spoke about it on so many different occasions. The people of Wisconsin and the people of the United States of America paid the price for Joe Biden's incompetence and the fact that the people around him used him in light of the very, very obvious fact that Joe Biden was suffering and is still suffering from some type of dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. The people also provided a set of electors for if justice was received. Those are the alternate electors. This, of course, never happened. However, those people were then the targets of the same individuals who cheated on the night of the election to stop President Trump. There were 3 attorneys who assisted President Trump and the honest, hardworking voters of the state of election, just in case, in preparation for when these corrupted results were overturned and the accurate results were then certified. As we know, that didn't happen, but it's similar to what took place in Hawaii in 1960. In that election, John F. Kennedy overcame Nixon's vote lead, and in the Kennedy case, his electors were needed after he overcame Nixon's lead after the election. These are alternate electors. It is something that happens in every single election. But the effort to have that set of electors ready for when the final results were certified is totally legal, but it is what was used as a pretense to bring this case. So, the Wisconsin charges were brought by Democrat Attorney General Josh Kaul's Department of Justice, and they allege that the 3 attorneys for President Trump defrauded the 10 Republican electors who cast their ballots for President Trump in 2020. The only witness to this alleged crime, a special agent with the State Department of Justice, is the person who detailed these allegations. Prosecutors contend that the 3 lawyers, Troupis, Chesborough, and Roman, lied to the Republicans about how the certificate they signed would be used as part of a plan to submit paperwork to then Vice President Mike Pence. But as we all know, there was nothing illegal about this. No corrupt actions took place. The corrupt Dane County Circuit Judge John Hyland sided with the Democrat Attorney General in Wisconsin, and he himself is declared a beneficiary of stolen elections. It's so funny how they tell us that we have no standing, but the Attorney General and the judge who was overseeing this case claimed that they were wronged in this instance. They have standing, but we don't have standing. So Judge Hyland ruled that there was probable cause to proceed with the 11 felony charges against Jim Troupis. He was President Trump's campaign attorney in Wisconsin. Mike Roman, he was Trump's director of Election Day operations in 2020. And those charged claim that they committed no crime. They were just trying to keep their options alive in case a court ruled that President Trump had actually won the state, as we all knew that he had. So the corrupt media in Wisconsin is using these phrases when talking about the agenda to take down these individuals, despite the fact that President Trump has returned and all of the other alternate electors' cases are dead in the water. They still call it the 2020 fake elector scheme. Republican electors to Congress falsely claiming that Trump had won Wisconsin that year, even though he lost to Democrat Joe Biden, falsely claiming that Trump had won the battleground state that year. I don't think that this case is going to proceed in the same way that all of these other cases have been unable to proceed. And as we know, President Trump recently said that all of the evidence of election fraud is coming out imminently. I believe Tulsi Gabbard is writing her final report. I'm sure that the DOJ is going to have a part to play in this as well. And it's only a matter of time until we get this sorted out. Northern Pike says, Nathan Wade, piece of shit, got paid for showering, shitting, eating, and sleeping 8 hours a week. Merry Christmas, Roosta, Red Pill. I appreciate you. Drunk Pinata, good to see you. At least she apparently wore her clothes the correct direction this time. I said the same thing when I pulled it up. I said, luckily for her, she put her dress on the proper way this time. Thank you so much to Sean Joe for the can and the cookie. Filter Dog says, Target update. And I don't know if we've already seen this, but let me go ahead and pull it up and we'll just check to make sure. Yes. Okay, so now, yeah, this is what we've already learned, but it looks like this may be a local news report. Ponce was featured in the news because she fought for Mexican flags to be displayed on American soil in her area.
Michaela Ponce in part started the Hispanic Heritage Flag Society when she submitted a letter to Orland City officials requesting that Mexican flags be displayed in street flagpole holes on traditional Mexican holidays like Cinco de Mayo, Mexican Independence Day, and Dia de los Muertos. Ponce has received permission from Caltrans, which originally drilled the flagpole holes 25 years ago. City leaders may decide to let the current status quo continue or amend the policy to determine flagpole displays as government speech and place...
This bitch. Dude, this is not Mexico. Okay, this is not Mexico. We don't fly the Mexican flag in the United States of America. Thank you to Northern Pike again. Hey, American true-born patriots of America, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, my friend. Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie. Judy the Lady Pug, thank you for the cookie. Sean Joe, thank you for another cookie. And then Filter Dog says 160 divided by 24 equals 6.66. All right, now, a set of charges was just announced by the U.S. Attorney of Massachusetts. 2 men have been arrested and charged in an alleged fraud scheme where they were obtaining millions of dollars in SNAP benefits through small variety stores. Now, obviously, this is probably part of the fraud that was recently announced to be discovered by Brooke Rollins and USDA. But these gentlemen were stealing $100,000 to $500,000 in SNAP benefits every month. They were making more money than the supermarkets, and then they were selling donated food that was meant for children overseas. They trafficked nearly $7 million worth of food stamp benefits and then sold the donated food product intended for nonprofit Feed My Starving Children. So these gentlemen are going to be going away for quite some time. This was out of Boston. Their names are Antonio Bonhair, he's 74, of Mattapan, and Saul Elizme, 21, of Hyde Park. They were each charged with 1 count of food stamp fraud. They were arrested this morning, and they will appear in federal court. Well, they appeared in Boston at 3:15. So Bonheur owned Jessela Variety Store, and Elizme owned Saul Mache Mix Store, both who operated as small variety stores within a street-facing storefront in the Mattapan neighborhood of Boston. Jessela Variety Store occupied about 150 square feet, and Saul Mache Mix Store occupied about 500 square feet. So from the charging documents, despite their small size, inventory, and food offerings, both stores allegedly exhibited extraordinarily high SNAP redemption volumes, far beyond what could reasonably be supported by legitimate food sales. Specifically, transaction data allegedly revealed that the stores had exceptionally large and anomalous average monthly SNAP redemption rates when compared to similarly situated businesses of the same size, type, and location. It is alleged that the defendants' monthly SNAP redemptions for Jessela exceeded 100,000, many months exceeding 300,000, at times exceeding 500,000. By comparison, one full-service supermarket in the same area redeems approximately $82,000 per month in SNAP benefits. So this transaction level data showed that approximately only 10% of the SNAP transactions were for amounts under $40, while more than 70% of the transactions exceeded $95. Transaction patterns like this are typically associated with large markets, not small variety stores with a limited food inventory. That's a lot of flamin' hot Cheetos that people were buying all at once, allegedly. So they did an undercover operation at both businesses. There they found that SNAP benefits were trafficked for cash on 4 occasions from Jessela and on 2 occasions from the Mosh Mix store. In each instance, the defendants themselves allegedly worked the cash registers and personally exchanged SNAP benefits for cash. Both stores were also allegedly observed selling liquor in exchange for SNAP benefits. So there you go. F around, find out, and you, my friend, are going to end up in federal prison. Can't wait to see where this goes. Thank you to Brian Murphy, good friend. Oh, actually, first of all, thank you to Untitled 82, who says silver is currently at $63.83. Are you serious? Silver at $63.83? My goodness. Wow. That's awesome. I wish that I could make money off all the silver I have. One Ohio Gal Now says, thanks for bringing humor to this mess. I appreciate you, One Ohio Gal. Thank you for that. And Brian Murphy says, thank you for the truffles. Thank you for the macarons. Thank you for the bonbons. Just wanted to hear you say that, Zach. Motoron says, Zach and Lisa to the moon. Ripsaw chat is invigorating. To hell with the grifting scum. I love it. All right. Now, as we were stating yesterday, the fraud, the illegal aliens, it's not just in Minnesota. It's not just in Louisiana. It's not just in Maine. It's also in places like Ohio and Kansas. And good news for the people of Ohio and Kansas, over 200 federal immigration agents are currently being deployed to both of those states to arrest and deport Somali illegal aliens. This is, of course, an operation by the Trump administration. They've already deployed 100 ICE agents to Minneapolis to arrest these Somali illegal scammers. So far, around 400 of them have been arrested. I saw a report earlier today as well. An illegal alien threw a rock at the back window of an ICE vehicle as it was going by. It smashed the window, and so ICE stopped their vehicle, got out, chased this guy down, arrested him, and they were like, oh, awesome, he's illegal, we can just deport him. Silver is at 66.58. Jeez, oh, Pete, it topped 67. My goodness, Ryan. That's incredible. Wow. We might be, I mean, that's the highest silver's ever been as far as I'm aware. We might be at that moment where silver finally breaks out. Jeez, oh, Pete. Yeah, there are Somali communities all around the country. Minneapolis is just like the highest concentration of them, but they're obviously big in Maine. We know they're big in Ohio because they were killing the dogs and the cats and the geese from the zoo. I had no idea about Kansas, though. Yeah, get your finger out of my face, woman. About to grab that hijab and take you down. Okay, anybody, who wants some mace? Who wants some pepper spray in the face? I saw another one where a woman refused to get up. They had, the Haitians, that's right. The Haitians were eating the dogs and the cats. Thank you for that. This woman got cuffed by ICE because she wouldn't get out of their faces, and then she refused to get up off the ground, and so they were literally dragging her through the snow. It was just one of those moments you love to see. Let me see if I can find that. Woman dragged. It's going to warm your hearts, guys. I guarantee it. Is this it? No, pinned face down and dragged by her wrist. I think that's it right here. Oh, yeah, look at that. Here it is. Here it is. She refuses to get up.
We kept yelling, she's pregnant, she's pregnant, she's pregnant. They put their knees in her, and we kept telling them, she can't breathe, let her up, let her up.
See, as you can see,
the woman who was
the more you around,
being dragged by
the more you're going to find out.
The angry crowd threw
That's just the way that it is.
Screamed at the federal agents.
Unfortunately for you, you got to get dragged every now and then if you're not going to comply with lawful orders. And specifically, if you're getting arrested for thwarting a federal investigation, that's just really unfortunate. Now, there is this guy known as DeWoke Farmer who has been hanging out in Washington, D.C. His name is William Kelly. He doesn't have a job. Doesn't appear to me that he's actually doing any farming. He is, however, a commie leftist. And his entire day is full of TikTok videos where he just harasses the National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C. He also harasses people that are walking down the street. In this clip, he finally gets some street justice because he harasses a family of Trump supporters. This guy and his wife and their kids are walking down the street, and DeWoke Farmer is accosting them, and then finally they arrest this guy.
Good job. Fuck off. Hey, who'd you vote? Hey, who'd you vote for? 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 Who'd you vote for, bud? Yeah, fuck you, you fucking Nazi piece of shit. Fuck you, you traitorous bitch. Fuck you, asshole. Fuck you. I am not doing anything wrong. I am not doing anything wrong. I am not doing anything wrong. You are violating my constitutional right. You are violating my constitutional right. You are violating my constitutional right. Get off this shit. Why are they fucking breaking the shit? Hey, hand me a shit. Hand me a shit. First Amendment protester. You are violating my constitutional right. He didn't fucking do anything. He was touching me. You guys went hands on, not him.
Oh, man. Oh, love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. All right, and we are going to go ahead and close it out there for the night because I've got Altered State with Brad tonight at 9 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and set up a raid, and I will send you guys over to another program. We'll see what's going on here. Before we do, one final message from our friends over here on Rumble. And there we go. Okay, as we close out the night, guys, did you know that ivermectin, 75% of the Nobel Prize-winning miracle drug that helped save millions during the pandemic, is primarily made in Asia? Well, not the wellness companies. Introducing American-made ivermectin, safe, trusted, and produced right here in the United States of America. For more than 30 years, ivermectin has shown a proven ability to eliminate parasites, and new research is now pointing to potential benefits for skin, immune, and cancer support. Most pharmacies charge $5 a tablet, but the wellness company is offering a higher 18-milligram dose for just $3.33 each. You'll get a 6-month supply designed for 4 21-day cycles, all at an unbeatable price. So get your U.S.-made ivermectin today by scanning the QR code or head over to twc.health/rumble and use the code RUMBLE to save $30 off plus free shipping. It's available for U.S. residents only. Right there, use the QR code twc.health/rumble. Thank you very much. All right, and don't forget about the final sponsors of the program, and I don't even know how this is going to work because I don't have one of my monitors, but let's see if I can get it happening. Okay, yes, my friends over here at onenessdrops.com/BOGO Red Pill 78. Right now, through the end of the month, you'll get buy one, get one free on everything they offer, whether it's their chlorine dioxide water purification kits or their mullein extract or soursop extract or their DMSO. Remember, I mentioned the other day there was the man who had terminal COPD and he began nebulizing DMSO and his doctor said your lung health is greatly improving. Absolutely fascinating. And then you can also take a look at their bundles, which include not only the mullein and the soursop, but also the hydrochloric acid for digestive support. Those are already lowered prices over what you would pay on an individual basis. And of course, you'll get a buy one, get one free on those as well. Everything is buy one, get one free with the code BOGO Red Pill 78. Also, Mike Lindell at mypillow.com, where you use code RP78 and you will get up to 80% off of everything Mike offers. Right now, there are a bunch of Christmas sales going on right now. My Pillow 2.0, the sheets, the Giza Dream sheets, the mattresses, the mattress toppers, the slippers, the bathrobes, the towels, all of it is wonderful stuff. And then, of course, my friend Jordan over here at consciousstrength.net, when you use code RP78, you'll save 10% off everything they offer. This is where I get my methylene blue. It is an incredible nootropic, a neuroprotective. It has been shown to completely rebuild neural pathways in your brain. And of course, it works directly on ATP production in your cells to naturally give you more energy. And finally, My Patriot Supply at preparewithredpill78.com. They also have a bunch of Christmas specials going on right now, whether it's the survival food or the buy one gift two Christmas special or their solar generators and battery packs. Everything that you get there using preparewithredpill78.com will be a special price. Now, Untitled 82, you are now a monthly supporter on Rumble. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. Look at that. My brother from another mother, Enoch, is in the house. First of all, Enoch says, come be a guest on Square, on Foxhole Squares with Coffee Talk with Sandra sometime. It's a game show set up just like Hollywood Squares, sponsored by Pilled. I am a square each week and would love to see you sometime, Zach. Enoch, I have wanted to do the Pilled Squares for such a long time. It's just that with my schedule, it has conflicted on a number of occasions. Okay, I will do whatever I can to make that happen. I'll reach out to you on Twitter. All right, we got it. I got your phone number, dude. I'll text you. We'll make it happen. Thank you for that, brother. Good to see you. Redgun51, thank you for the can. And Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie. All right, you guys. Hope to see you tonight at 9 p.m. on Badlands Media for Altered State with Brad. But if I don't, then of course I will see you here tomorrow at 5 p.m. for another exciting episode of Red Pill News Live. Let me pass out these gold pills. You guys, I would like to also ask everybody to please pray for our very special mod mom, Debbie Roush. Debbie is going to be retiring from modding, not only from my channel, but also from everybody's channel. And I don't know how often she's going to be in the chat. So if you have an opportunity to let Debbie know how impactful she's been over the years, helping out every single day, she is so dedicated. She has done more for this channel than I can possibly explain. We love you, Debbie, and we are going to miss seeing you around every day. But I understand you've got to take care of yourself, and hopefully everybody will send you as much love as they can possibly give. So let me set up this raid real quick, and we will send you over to my good friend Pixels. How's that? Go say hi to Pixels for me. And let me find Season Pixels over here on Rumble as well. The breakdown with Season Pixels. And there we go. Raid is coming your way, Pixels. Everybody say hi to Pixels for me. Tell him we love him. And confirmed. There we go. All right, you guys. I'll see you tonight or I'll see you tomorrow. Either way, I love you. Peace.